Here we go now. 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 now. Here we go 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 now.
Are you keeping it real? and welcome to PUBG Mobile Club Open 2021 Fall Split, and this is of course the Bangladesh region. A huge thanks to Oppo F19 Pro for making it all happen. Hashtag Book Up Your Fun, alongside which of course our official media partners is going to be Nemo TV. And to get the day started off, of course this is going to be day number 4, where me and Ankit are going to be taking you through the journey once again. Group B and C are going to be introduced today, and again in those, Ankit, we were just discussing about teams. We were talking about, well, how about you get started off with the teams themselves? What teams are you hoping to see that will pop up today?
IPG.
IPG. Oh, yes.
I mean, when they played in that day before yesterday's gameplay between C and D, they were looking off-colored. I mean, not the IPG that we have seen in the past, especially the recently concluded national championship. I mean, those sort of performances you really need to emulate at this stage, because at the end of the day, this is the club open. But for the moment, it is going to be the tournament explanation, and we will be letting you know the all sort of matches, how they will play. Day 1, 2 and 3 are done. Let that thing go behind, but it is going to be day 4. We get to see B/C. That means it will be a day where B and C will be going head to head, and each group at the end of these all semifinals, 12 matches. So I guess after the completion of today's gameplay, whoever finds themselves in the groove, whoever tries to get done with all the impediments and the roadblock, will be the one getting and finding themselves in the top spot position, because a lot of we know at the end of the day, it is going to be the top 11 that will be aggressing. And what are they playing for? This is a massive prize pool. $29,200 total of a prize pool. In the first place, the one who gets not only the $3,600, but also get one slot for the PMPL Season 4.
Absolutely, and that is going to be a huge undertaking for whichever team finds themselves at the top of the leaderboard by the end of the finals itself. Will be selected to be a part of course, the MPL Season 4 indeed. And again, that is a long ways away. For now, since we are in the semi-finals, these teams are just grinding, as Ankit just mentioned, to be in the finals itself, and only 11 teams are going to be moving on forth from these 32. Along with that, when it comes to the point structure, it is going to be the customary one, where Chicken Dinner winner team will be walking away with 15 points, followed by the second position with 12, and so on the journey continues. But 13 to 16 team position will get absolutely nothing, and in all of this, the X factor is of course going to be the kill points. The kill hungry team is going to be walking away with a lot of points, and with that, like I was discussing earlier as well, Group B and C are going to be playing today. So let's get introduced with Group B.
Indeed it is, and it's going to be a hell lot of squad for them, as we can get to see, because BX Esports is there. It is going to be FOF BadBlood, and then it is again going to be the TT for Archangels. Now Archangels really need some godly performance. Their angels are there, but the fortunes are not suddenly actually favoring them in terms of the gameplay. But it's not only the luck and the thing that you rely upon, you need to bring out the skill. And talking about the skill, it is one team that is completely well versed with it, and that is going to be the IPG Infernal Parasite GX.
Absolutely, that team has going to be, or rather will hopefully be able to get that rising star working in their favor. And as we move on to the final 4 teams, we are going to be introduced to Thundercloud, Phantom for UI, Limit Over, as well as Final Touch. Now, Thundercloud did have an interesting performance. I mean, remember from the map of Sanhok, where they were just absolutely dancing across through the paradise, and then eventually went on to get the Chicken Dinner as well for themselves. But on the other tangent, talk about Limit Over, that is another incredibly talented team that are bringing up a lot of the gameplays into their favor in terms of the domination they are bringing based on the kills itself. But right now, talking about the schedule, we have of course Erangel, Miramar, Sanhok, and to close the day, it will be Erangel once again.
Eventually the schedule repeats itself in their own way, and then we'll get to see the overall ranking and on what basis the teams are actually positioning themselves, which team is above which, and what sort of more points and what sort of deficit is lacking still behind them. 132 Bad Intentions. It was yesterday's gameplay that was completely a smack performance for themselves, and I guess no other team is looking good as Bad Intentions did. But for the moment, it is gonna be each and every team with the 8 matches played. But once we get to see the second half of the chart, it will become more interesting, as now TREX Skeleton, 8 matches, just the 58 sort of point. It is going to be an easy task for Infernal Parasite, just the 4 matches, getting 1 chicken, total of 55 points. Still, I would say not the performance that they have played in the past, because this is a team that can at least take 4 matches, 60 to 70 points is pretty much doable for them.
It is. It should be able to. But again, I mean, it is going to be based on the fact that what the other teams in the lobby are going to be playing along with, and what sort of strategy will they be approaching this game with. Along with that, we do see, of course, Limitover right there on the 12th spot with 25 kills and 19 placement points. So again, the kill-hungry team is what Limitover has been showcased, and 25 kills is what they have. Of course, now the conversation is in the next 4 games that will be played today, what sort of a leap and bounds are they going to be creating as they find themselves, of course, on the second page, but will they be able to move on along into the first page is what the question will be.
That's the question. That's the question, because the top 11 will be aggressing for the next stage, and it becomes important in all these situations, all these tough predicaments, to actually find yourself away from these third half, from 17 to obviously to 29 to 30 teams that are present in the lobby eventually. But Final Touch have certainly missed a lot of matches. Talk about Oxygen Rising Star. It is certainly not acceptable, and not also for PX Esports team IR. I would really want to see which team from 26, 27 and 28 will first be rising, and not only rise in terms of the total points that they secure in order to get secure at least behind that 11th position, maybe somewhere down towards the 16th or 17th position. But for the moment, it has certainly been looking dead performance for their side, also from the sides of 9-7. But for the moment, it is going to be the head-to-head between Limitover and Infernal Parasite, where certainly Limitover is trespassing and overpowering Limitover in terms of IPG, is certainly overpowering Limitover in terms of total points. And not only that, it is the damage dealt also, kills also, and the chickens too.
Most certainly, that is working for IPG's favor for the moment, but once again, I mean, it's only a 10-point shy that Limitover find themselves, and that is something that hopefully today will be changed, but we shall have to see what sort of a playstyle will they be allowed. Again, when it comes to the positioning of these two teams, I mean, Infernal Parasite, we saw they're on that 9th spot, and they are leading on to get into the top 8 itself. On the other tangent, talking about Limitover, well, they want to be in the top 11, there's no two ways about it, and that is an opportunity that will be, of course, taken over by them as they find themselves on the 12th spot, but with the 44 points, of course, there will be an expectation of them getting that chicken dinner for themselves as well. But will that be allowed? It's going to be a tough situation, because again, when it comes to the teams in the lobby and the X-Factor team, so to say, a team to kind of watch out for is going to be, of course, as the graphics move on along, we shall have a look at the team that is going to be absolutely, hopefully creating havoc is what the anticipated result is going to be. But let's move on to the team that we are going to be keeping an eye out for. That is going to be, of course, TREX Power.
Indeed it is. I was talking about this team before the game actually started, and this team is one that really has the potential to at least find themselves in the top 11 and the top first 2 half of the chart. Talking about their scorecards, I mean, Hitman has been a good performer. It has been RJ somewhere in the patches. Damage is still there. Kill has been secured in number in terms that really wanted, and among all the players, I mean, Rock OP, Shimantor, he has been the one with the highest of the KPM. If TREX needs to perform, it is going to be RJ that really needs to smack other players in this lobby, because he is the one that not only the KPM, he is also the one that has highest average survival timing of 20 minutes 47 seconds, and then comes Shimantor. So Shimantor is the one that actually, I guess, maybe gives that assistance, and in terms of those cover fire that the team needs to, but certainly Hitman and Rock OP needs to up their performance. But certainly Rock OP, we can get to see, yep, it is going to be the 10 kills. I just didn't see that half of the chart. I was so busy in getting the RJ's performance that I certainly forgot to see that it's Rock OP eventually with 10 kills, 1155 damage, and then it is RJ. So both the players have been really commending each other in terms of the performance, but we really need to see how the things are getting to panned out.
Absolutely, and that is going to be, of course, the expectation from these teams, all of these teams in fact, because again, you have Phantom for you, you've got Oxygen Rising Stars, you've got MARTYRS 1971, and these teams, PX Esports in that factor as well, KSX another team. These teams are, I mean, one of them, of course, should be able to rise up. I mean, we've been talking about KSX, right? KSX is one of those teams that were anticipated from the crowd as well, were anticipated to play really well. Yeah. But somewhere along the line, their journey is not looking too good. But now is the moment where they need to kind of bring up their bring up the stats, and hopefully change the way that they have been showcasing their performance. Will they be able to do so? It is a tough call, because again,
Sure.
It's not going to be an easy because,
No.
as you were mentioning, I mean, IPG, they are just in top-notch form. Limitover trying their level best, and the X-Factor team right there of course, TREX Power going to try and topple over both of those teams. So a tough fight is what I'm hoping for when it comes to these matches, but we shall see as we get jumping into the game itself.
Definitely, sooner or later we'll get towards the Erangel, the first game of this day 4 of this Bangladesh region PMCO. But before that, since you mentioned IPG's name, I really want to talk more about this. Now, IPG are on the 9th position with, I guess, 55 somewhere to the points, and they just are 3 or 4 points shy away from the team that is holding, after playing 8 matches, that 8th position. They really have a chance to make it big. Big as enough to get close towards the total point system of what Bad Intentions, or maybe closer towards it, because 132 is far-fetched. They really need to make it, they really need to make a big move in order to get closer towards what Bad Intentions is standing, but still they really have a chance. I mean, talk about TRZ Esports in yesterday's gameplay. Some real big team really made it possible. It was GSM, it was Bad Intentions, it was again TRZ Esports that got chicken dinner respectively secured, and just because of them, we have seen them in the yesterday's gameplay showcasing them. But then again, it is going to be just the 4 game that Group B and C have played. So an opportunity that I would say that the team have. Talk about teams like Learn From Past. Talk about the opportunity that obviously Thundercloud has. I mean, that's, just start of the show, you just mentioned that Thundercloud got the chicken in the game of Sanhok, and they were just bamboozling the complete lobby, and so is the case that we can expect some sort of climb up, because in yesterday's gameplay, from nowhere it was Faceoff that got the chicken in the last game of Erangel, a team that was not looking in that colored form, that was not looking prolific, but that was not looking sublime, but all of a sudden this is PMCO what is all about. But for the moment, we have got the corporate producers, and we are dumping and diving right into the first game, and that is going to be of the Erangel. The flight path is already on its way from the area, from the southern side of military base, and it is going to be Thundercloud Bulbul that we are seeing for the moment. I guess the flight path will be completely dissecting, and yes, it is 50% of the total area is being dissected by this flight path. That means each and every one, apart from some teams, and since it is not TRZ Esports that love to go towards the area of Primos, I mean, rest of the lobby, rest of the team don't generally tend to go towards the same area. That means each and every city is up for grab.
Most certainly is going to be the case, and the teams that are going to be starting right off the bat, the dive is going to be from the side of IPG as they move on down towards Novorupna. Along with them is also going to be Exitron, Red Army, ATR, who are going to be falling back onto the military base for the moment itself. On the other tangent, we do have the other teams who are slowly and steadily, of course, going to be making their rotation down towards Milta and Milta Power, where we do see the side of course, TP right there, and this team also is going to be absolutely phenomenal to witness and watch as to what exactly sort of a play are they going to be bringing to the table. But that is not all, because after all, this is, as of course Ankit was mentioning, PMCO's best of the best teams, where indeed one good game can lead you to some amazing results, and hopefully the teams today are going to jump in, dive into the action right off the bat. For now, talking about early contestations themselves, that certainly does not seem to be the case, but it's only a matter of time before we jump in with the zone getting down to the northern side of the map. An interesting shift coming in, and that is going to be showcased by what sort of a rotation IPG end up making. But for now, of course, the main focus is going to be the loot. The loot, the loot. This is where the teams, of course, are going to be chiming on along and getting the loot segregated and sorted for themselves. Yasnaya seems like an interesting place to be keeping an eye out for, where we do have, of course, the team of Levitt over very close to proximity of Phantom for UI, and this team, both these teams rather, can be anticipated to take on an early fight.
No problem whatsoever for Thundercloud, because they are holding the Pachinki, but certain problems are there for the teams that are holding the southeastern part of the circle. Talk about Learn From Past, talk about FT, that is gonna be a final touch. Thankfully, I guess they are playing for the moment, but it seems that certain teams might be facing trouble. But a wise decision from IPG, because somewhere down the line, they love to go towards the area of Novorupna. But since they have played in the part with GSM in the lobby, with Gremlin Storm in the lobby, we have seen that they have have just averted and have not loved to go towards an over-open area. Since it is not GSM in the lobby, they have finally went towards their safe haven. But the question still remains, Blooder, that the teams know that IPG loves to go towards the area of no over-open area when it is not Gremlin Storm. And that is also known towards for the team that are in the lobby. It can be a perfect moment where teams like Team IR and also teams like KSX that are holding the Milta and the farm area, they are in a split and they can eventually shatter their hopes and just trying to bring a lot of fathom onto them. That can be certainly a case. But as soon as the circle made a shift, MARTYRS Epsilon are completely on a roll, and getting control of the Stolber hills and those hillocks and those mountains can be the best part for them, because we have seen in the past any team, whoever gets control of those big hills, those mountains, those altitude, it can come really into the play. But for the moment, Yasnaya, Polyana is the action of contestation, as we are getting to see Phantom 4 complete in the closure around the area where limit over players are actually positioned. LO's players are having good sort of merry time, but since Yasnaya Polyana is a big CT, I mean, we have seen in the past in yesterday's gameplay also, and eventually at the start of the game and in different regions also, we have seen teams who love to go towards the same area. There is one option, and that is a fallback, and that is certainly possible.
That certainly could be the case and cause for the side of Phantom for you. But right now, that is certainly not something that these teams are going to be discussing, because again, these teams are hungry for the points, and the points is what the game is all going to be working towards. And those points, of course, you get the chicken dinner will be working in your favor, but more than the chicken dinner, the probability of you being part of the fight and getting those kills for yourself is going to be that much more incredible. And that, of course, does help you confirm the points for yourself, and that is something that, of course, Limit Over as well as Phantom for you hopefully will be working towards. As of now, we can clearly see that Limit Over's players are very well equipped and prepped in terms of the utility as well. They are absolutely in control of the contestation, but will it be the same case for the side of Phantom for you? For now, Phantom for you's players are absolutely just roaming all across the board to try and get the utilities working in their favor, but it seems like they are not really focused on the team or their opponent team in the same vicinity, and based on that, the information is being lost on them, and it is Limit Over right here, Nitrogen, who is going to be getting that information, trying to rather get that information onto his opponent's team, and of course will be relaying it to his teammates. Looking onto the minimap, we can see that it is a bit of a flank angle that has been created from the side of Limit Over. But for Phantom for you, now is the moment where they do need to start working towards where exactly is their opponent team. What sort of a play can they actually make in that area? If not, it is going to be them that will be caught off guard. And on the other tangent of the map altogether, we do have TP that moved on down towards the Milta region, has taken a fight of their own.
And definitely it is going to be the final touch the team that has finally joined this lobby in today's gameplay, are getting the better half of this these shots that are coming in. RJ is pretty much close, and we were talking about TREX powers and the overpowered gameplay that they have played in the past. Now, since RJ is on a run, he's pretty much close to where he can be spotted on by Old Boy 24, and he is running out in the open. He is hungry for the kill, but is this approach wise enough to take down the players, or will he be taken down, as the player have now just fallen themselves away, have retreated from this situation, and all these fights are happening on the southeastern side of the map, closer to where we get to see those Milta areas, and just because of that, they are just 480 meters apart, and now RJ has duly noted the rotation. The player are falling themselves away, and sooner or later, it is also going to be the TREX power that will be finding themselves. So straight right of the go, it is going to be final touch that didn't find themselves indulging into the fight, and just because they lost a lot of match, they need to get all these placement points, because they are in a deficit of just a lot of total points and also a lot of matches.
That is so true indeed, and that is something that hopefully FT will be trying to complete in today's game. And of course, the games themselves is going to be a questionable mark, because as Ankit just so perfectly mentioned, Final Touch have only played those few selected games, and just that resulting is well, them losing on to the opportunities. But today, of course, that opportunity is going to be favoring them, but only question is, what sort of a play style are they going to be making? For now, of course, we can see that they did get a knock, but were able to get a revival as well, and have moved away from the entirety of the situation with the 3-man squad that this team has jumped into this first game itself. It is going to be a tough situation for them,
very tough.
because the lobby is looking absolutely
definitely, I will 100% agreeing with you because not only that they are playing with a deficit of a lot of matches, they don't have experience playing in this lobby. They have not only missed the matches, they have missed all this experience that other teams do carry on their collar in order to take the fight. And since they have not played a lot of matches, it's just the 74 average damage that the whole team secure, 2 total points, and they are on the last half of the chart. Talking about this, one team is also not on the last half of the chart, but not pretty much good in the positioning and total point system, and that is going to be of PX Esports. I really expected these lads to actually perform, but till now it has been a sad event for them, and this certainly needs to be changed as soon as possible. Talking about that, turning the tables, turning the fortunes, and sealing this fate, it is gonna be Infernal Parasite GX, 9th rank, 55 total points. I'll have my keen eyes because you get to see 1082 damage. This is something that is really looking optimistic and hopeful for them in terms of the lead that they can secure in today's gameplay.
That certainly would be the case and cause for this team, but again, will the lobby allow them to bring in that sort of decimation is where things can get a little tricky, because we have seen so many times that teams get caught off guard as they make that rotation, or when it comes to the passive approach itself, it is the circle itself when it comes down to the circle, 4th and 5th circle, where we jump into that 15-20 minutes into the game. That is when we still have 12 teams remaining, and third parties become the prominent cause of trouble for so many of these teams. So those sort of situations and fights is where things can get tricky for the side of IPG. But again, we do know that the skill point is going to be favoring IPG. On the other tangent, it is going to be Team IR who seem to be taking a fight of their own, and on the other side, on the receiving end rather, from the looks of it, it is going to be, well, not looking good for TP.
Wow.
It is TREX Power who has already lost one of their players, and Gyro God will be lost to the cause.
Indeed it is, and IR is the one, I guess, that is putting a big dent. But in all these fights, there is also exit Sean's red army that is coming into the fight. But for the moment, it is no stopping. The Merry is just not ending for them, and it is not looking good for them as they are in a misery as the players are trying to take them down. It is going to be obviously KSX that are trying to play an influential game and an instrumental role the players are playing with all the McLarens and all the vehicles being parked under this squad house that we get to see. It's a brilliant way to actually emerge into a fight because they are holding the important compound for the moment. But then the question again remains, is that enough for them? Will that circle be favoring them for how long? That is going to be the question. But certainly a big blow in the early stage of the game, and all the players are duly noting, okay, it is okay that Hitman is peppering the bullets onto their head, onto their shots, onto their vehicles, but once the circle is bound to get away from TREX Power's player, when they make the rotation, they will have to face on the onslaught. They are putting every player, each sort of player that are coming in, but still with no success. IPG's Dictator was pretty much close in the vicinity, was under the crosshair of Hitman, but till now, Hitman hasn't been able to give at least 1 pixel of a damage.
For now, that certainly looks to be the case for the side of TREX, but eventually, having lost one of their players, that's of course going to be Gyro God, they are brought to a 3-man squad, and now so many teams making rotations right next to them, it is going to be tricky for them to, of course, get into the comfort. For now, of course, they have been able to take a lot of shots onto the teams right around the corner who have been able to make that rotation. And also talking about those rotations itself, it was Team IR that was looking pretty strong. It was KSX Sax who were able to move on along and get themselves into the safety of another compound itself. But for the moment, when it comes to those kills, when it comes to those knocks, that certainly has not been the case for any of the teams. But on the other tangent, when it comes down to, of course, TREX, it is, well, a tricky start because Team IR were the ones who were able to get that knock confirmed into a kill and a point, and that is the number that we can see, 1 defeat in favor of Team IR. And as the team progresses on along, now they're going to have to be very, very cautious as they progress on to try and get this game working in their favor. They do have their crosses set up towards the compound that is going to be south of their location, and in that, it is going to be none other than KSXX who have made the rotation down, and Team IR can have a better advantage of this because they do have the hill approach working in their favor, and they will be able to pincer down the movement from KSXX, but that is only if Team IR decides to do so. For now, that is not something that they are working on. On the other tangent, talking about Final Touch, team that is finally joining the lobby itself with a 3-man squad are finding themselves into the ruins area as they get their loot all perfectly set up.
Yeah, It is with them finding themselves in that area for the moment, and UMP is the one go-to gun. We have seen in the past, I mean, a lot of UMPs are being used, but it is the one team that is getting the better half, the area of Stolberg area where they're finding themselves into, and they are looking good at the moment. I told you about the one who gets all these hills into contestation, and the stronghold is gonna be the one that will be getting the better half of this match. And talking about that, it is gonna be FOF BadBlood. We haven't talked much about this team. This team has been out of contestation every time we have seen in, not in that move that we get to see, but since the circle has still made a central shift, it is bound to maybe finish downtown towards the area of Stolberg, and in that doing so, it is going to be the Archangels and also Final Touch that will be getting the most of the favor. But a longer rotation has come in from the sides of KSX that are trying to enter into the circle from the northern side. But I really feel sad for the guys of Martyrs Epsilon. They were just waiting. They were just waiting that the circle might come into the lab, but all of a sudden they have been thrown away from the circle, and the player are just not able to process for the moment because it has been 15 seconds and now they are going for the moment. But on to the other hand side, it is going to be Exitron Red Army that really can play all the ridges, and the entry is pretty much possible for them. With a safe entry they can make a move, but sooner or later the fight will erupt, and not only erupt, it will explode, because all the colors are slowly and steadily marching into the circle, and in doing so it is gonna be IR, team IR, that can become the center line of the circle, and that can become the center of attraction. We can get to see some shots are being fired on from the side of Phantom 4 UI, and I guess that might be onto the players of team IR.
Well, for now, it is getting really crowded in that zone indeed, and as it comes down to Martyrs 1971, they haven't been able to make that rotation, but as they do so, they are also going to find themselves very close to the vicinity of ATR's rotation indeed, and on towards the circle itself, in towards the circle itself. It is Team IR who are trying to move on along, have already lost one of their players, thus only two-man army is what this team is, and making that rotation, and in the minimap we can clearly see so many teams around the vicinity of that position that Team IR are trying to rotate through is not going to be an easy task. Exactly what we were talking about perhaps 6 to 8 minutes earlier. This is the third zone and 15 teams still alive. With 14 minutes into the game, it is getting really crowded, and of course the circle is the one that is going to be pushing these teams against each other. Final Touch seems like they are going to be finally getting into a fight, and the team that is going to be in their vicinity is going to be none other than KSX. As of now, we have Rebel on our screens, and Rebel does certainly know that there is a team right across the door, but will he be able to retaliate against the push from KSX, or will they be absolutely quiet and try and not work on towards the fight, and eventually will try and get the placement points working in their favor? We shall have to see.
IR going down. IR are going down. They are going down, and the team is going down, as now IPG have got a lot of shots from different directions, and I guess the rotation have been certainly not favoring them. But on to the other hand side, now they're trying to retaliate with Ventus YT getting into close and Phoenix into the same vicinity. It is going to be an early affair in terms of the total teams that are still alive. Grenades are being lobbed in, and Dictator's position completely compromised in these situations, but Limit Over is just not stopping. After eliminating one player from the sides of Infernal Parasites, that is going to be the IPG. Now Dictator's flank angle, if he comes from the backhand side or tries to lobby that grenade correctly around that shark area, that can be the opening that the IPG are really waiting for. But it seems that Sam is being knocked down and he's being given the revival, and since Dictator is getting to the flank angle, Nitrogen, it seems that he has spotted down. He is now under the smoke. A thick smoke cloud has been created, thus resulting blocking the complete vision that IPG could get the control of. But now IPG, being the smartest one here, is trying to just scroll down. He's being the snake, but he needs to lob in one grenade. He realizes that all the players are positioned in the same directions, but now it seems that it's too late, as the players are now falling themselves away. Will they be able to bring one knock, at least one, while they're trying to traverse? It seems that it is far-fetched.
It is a lost cause indeed for IPG. Tried their level best. They created the flank as well as they moved on along, but it was Limit Over who got the better half of their fight. In doing so, they were able to get away from that situation, but now they have been separated. And again, when you talk about the mini-map, it is just full of so many different colors, and because teams are spread all across the board. And PX on the kill feed, we can clearly see, are taking a fight against the players of Thundercloud, where Thundercloud as well as PX are chiming in, but it is also a third-party situation from the looks of it, because and Archangels are also being a part of that exact same fight, where indeed moving towards KSXX, they've got this perfect setup towards the edge of the zone itself, and Martyrs 1971 are the ones who could very well push on along this compound and create a bit of a troublesome situation for KSXX. For now, they will certainly not be deciding to do so, as we see Martyrs 1971 running away from that fight.
Macho Man being the macho here out of all sudden, he's trying to pull down the players, have eventually brought one player down to the knees, and Martyrs Epsilon, they were finding themselves in the Inferno. They were trying to traverse between a lot of players, and in doing so, this is not looking good for the same teams, and this is going to be a bad approach from their side, as now Martyrs players are going down. It was not Martyrs Epsilon, but yes, it is going to be the 1971 Martyrs that has gone down, and just because of that, it is going to be a 1 kill secured from some opposition side, and all of a sudden, it is not looking good for PXE, because now they are coming in, but the terrain is eventually not favoring them, as Exitron Red Army has completely bamboozled them, but in doing so, Error 404 has fallen.
It certainly seems to be the case where PX Esports as one final player is the one who has been able to retaliate against the push of this team of course, AR, and eventually when it comes to ATR, again, they were looking absolutely perfect when it came down to the spray itself, but in doing so have sadly not been able to confirm a kill for themselves, and now moving away from that fight, they jump on to take another team altogether. That's going to be from the side of course, LFP, and eventually as this team of ATR pushes on along relentlessly from one fight to the next, sadly they've only been able to get that 1 point for themselves, because that's the only kill that they have gotten. Again, the damage certainly working in their favor, but if you are not able to complete the fight itself, not get the kill confirmed itself, the team is going to bounce back, and that is of course going to be PX Esports, and that is something that ATR need to be very careful of.
Indeed it is, as you just perfectly mentioned. I mean, damage is one thing, and then getting converted that damage into kill, getting that knock into converted into kill is one other thing. But Showman has been pulled down and has been brought to his knees, that he was just trying to spot down the player, but thanks to that onslaught that is coming in from different direction, and all of a sudden it is going to be PX Esports that are holding the back, and Exitron Red Army are certainly in a lot of trouble. The players have been revived, but all of a sudden from the backhand side, if they be too much careless, if they don't watch out and they don't be more watchful at any point, at any time, PX Esports can finish them off in style. But domination mode is where Archangel's Venom has gone down, and 3 kills is what he's standing for the moment. And on the other hand side, it is going to be Oxygen Rising Star that are falling slowly and steady, but PX Esports are getting a lot of fight, as we are getting to see the players on the right hand side of the kill feed, they are falling down slowly and steadily, and just because of that, it is gonna be one team that is trying to make a maneuver at the situation. And now KSX getting the better half of all these fights, standing with 4 men alive, they have a real good chance in not order to let other teams like which is in the pink, that is going to be PX Esports may come into zone, but it is going to be a big challenge for them. But in all these fights, in all situations, we are heading towards the 20 minutes of the circle, where there is a lot of team alive, and most importantly, it is the ridge, it is the mountain that are being converted and getting hold control of it, with Novobot being knocked down. What a grenade straight onto face from the sides of Sweet Love. That was a sweet knock that came in, and he secured in his own favor. We have to still wait for that, if the kill gets secured or not, but on to a different direction. There is a lot of fight erupting, and all of a sudden, if we watch the minimap, there is a lot of commotion on the northeastern and northwestern side of the map, but on the southern side, there is no news. The peace is settled, but as you just mentioned, on the eastern side, the fights are slowly and steadily are getting settled up.
Most certainly are. Thundercloud right here on our screens trying to get that perfect use of utilities for themselves. They have been able to confirm 2 kills for themselves, but eventually they do have a knocked player surprise right there, and he will be given a revival hopefully soon. But as they do so, they are of course popping down those smokes to be able to be in a part of a better fight. They do have to have the cover of the smoke itself. Moving on along, of course, as was discussed earlier, we are 21 minutes in. This is the 5th zone being drawn, and 13 teams are still alive. So there are so many teams in this small little area that finally it is going to be a very tricky affair for these teams to transverse, because eventually third parties is what can be expected from all of them. We do see PX Esports' all 4 players are alive, thanks to of course the onslaught that ATR tried but was not able to confirm the kills for themselves. PX Esports have been able to get their teammates revived altogether. On the other side, KSXX are also taking on some fights. They were the ones who actually did pincer down PX Esports for a moment a few minutes earlier, but now they also are pincered down themselves, because they have so many teams surrounding them. On the other tangent, it is going to be PX Esports that have once again taken a knocks, and this is not looking good for them.
Sanhok bring that important knock that they were seeking for. One more knock, one more player goes down, and not only that, all the 3 players onto the knees, and not to forget about KSX, one player is on the backhand side. If he tries to do something else, he will be taken care of. And I guess it is the Demon that is just giving all the raw information to the rest of the player of KSX that in order to get that grenade perfectly into the smoke cloud. But now it is going to be Heaven that realizing the fact, he knows that it is one player from the backhand side, from the sides of KSX, and that is Demon that is now trying to restrict the movement of PX Esports. But all of a sudden, they have been sandwiched in terms of the split with which they have been outplayed. But Heaven, realizing the fact he's taking the TPP angle, but all of a sudden it seems that Demon has not realized that he can be at any moment pulled down, and Heaven now he will be trying to take him down, as now he was also pretty much on his toes. But moving on to some different fights on the eastern side, it is going to be Phantom 4 UI that is trying to make an entry into the zone, and this is not going to be an easy task because it is going to be an Archangel that is pretty much close towards them, and now Demon should have been taken down, but no, a lost opportunity is what I would say.
Well, in doing so, it is going to be Demon who shall push on to the placement of PX Esports final player. That's going to be Heaven right there, who has the cover of the McLaren, but eventually he will be able to get Demon and will be able to get that revenge because his teammates were brought down to their knees and then sent back in the lobby, all thanks to Demon. But eventually the revenge will be taken on and the kill point will be confirmed for the side of Heaven of PX Esports. As you move on towards the other side of the fight, it is going to be Phantom for you who are now finally chiming in to the arena and are taking on the fight and onslaught to the names of KSX as well as ATR. But for now, of course, it is ATR who are absolutely in control of so many fights. They are completely decimating and destroying the teams that they go across because they've got 7 kills for themselves, 8 teams remaining, and so many of these teams that we are jumping from one to the other have all 4 players alive as well. So an amazing turn of events on this first map of Erangel.
Angels are playing it to perfection. It seems that now the PUBG God are favoring them because they are not only playing it to perfection, they are getting the better half of the edge of the circle because the 6th shift certainly favored them. But all of a sudden, it is going to be Archangels against Sweet Love taking that knock onto obviously limit overs player. But Sweet Love in doing so has been spotted down as he given a lot of sound cues, and this is not going to be an easy task. They need to take down this one big team that is going to be a Phantom 4i. In yesterday's and the day before yesterday's gameplay, we didn't see much of Phantom's UI gameplay, but since they have gotten all the 3 players into the zone, eventually this is a good sign for them to at least get 1 chicken or maybe get close towards the 1 chicken, as now we are heading towards the 7th circle and still a lot of players alive. Talk about Martyrs 1971 player, they is still alive. Talk about other teams player, they are still alive. The certain teams are still surviving with just 1 player standing, and they are just playing with the placement points. They are fighting their heart out and just waiting and watching for the other teams to find themselves in the fight, and then in all the situation, then they will be trying to take the advantage. If the players are trying to take the fight, they will be trying to make that third party situation, and that can result them in certain good points. But certain teams are just not stopping. Even if they are surviving 1 player, they will be trying to take the fight, as now Martyrs 1971 have made a big blow onto some different players onto different direction, but KSX have certainly not left the positioning that they were holding. And all of a sudden, since the zone has gone away from Exitron Red Army, things are looking bleak for them.
Well, KSX also need to be transversing to get into the comfort of the zone, which is going to be 27 meters away for the players right there. On the other tangent, it was a perfect spray onto the players of course, the dominating team of this area that has resulted in a perfect 9 points for themselves. So amazing skills being showcased, but will it be enough? We're on to the 7th zone, and in 5 seconds that is also going to be pushing on along with the blue zone, and that is going to be pushing these teams. 6 teams that are part of this entire saga are absolutely clustered throughout this entire event, and in that it is KSX who are going to be perhaps getting the better half, but will ATR allow them to do so is going to be the conversation, because they are sitting on 10 kills for now, and ATR just absolutely abysmal performance from this team. And Martyrs 1971, well, they've got 1 final player, but will it be enough is what we shall have to see. On the other side, the kills are just taking place in the kill feed from one side to the next. It is just complete annihilation, where Final Touch also are still part of the saga. They are in the top 5 and are taking on fights. They've got 2 kills confirmed for themselves. Sanhok also moving on along to take on a fight all by himself as well, and he will be bringing and printing down the players of Phantom Esports. What a play that was, and indeed it is Phantom for UI who will be sent back in the lobby.
Misery not ending. Misery certainly not ending for Phantom UI, as they have been thrown away from this match, but this is also going to be a tough task for Final Touch to go in zone. You remember, this team was really looking good at the start of the game. They really didn't have a lot of kill if we just talk about that at the start of the game, but since now they are in the zone, now since they are on the edge of the circle, they are 3 men strong, and this is what the team needs. But Exitron Red Army, in all this situation, I guess this is the one team that might get the chicken secured, just not let the numbers go down in the way, since now PX Heaven have been completely pinned down, PX Esports getting eliminated, and thanks to that onslaught that has been brought down by the sides of Final Touch, and all of a sudden Final Touch are taking fights in multiple directions, from left to right, from center to mid to back. They are gobsmackingly performing it to perfection, as now Rebel has spotted down some of the players from sides of Exitron Red Army, and all the 4 players have come in this far. But no, this is not going to be the case for long, as Macho Man has been brought down, and it seems that he's the 3rd knock in this match, and he really needs his assistance for the moment, as now KSX is also pretty much strong at this moment, with Rebel using utilities to perfection, but still falling just 2-3 meters short. Had there been one more grenade follow-up onto the side and just one more bounce straight into the lap of Exitron Red Army, things could have certainly looked different. But Final Touch, one good split, all 3 players in different directions. They are looking good. They are certainly looking good. With Rebel, one knock, he tried really hard, but Sanhok being the better one here.
Well, KSX have pushed on along towards the players of Final Touch, but it is going to be ATR who are going to try and, well, it's Steve. What a player, what a player, what a perfect spray is being showcased from this lad. First he takes down Rebel from the side of Final Touch, then moves on along to take down the players of ATR, and doing so has resulted in a bit of a fair which is going to be favoring him. But will that be enough is what we shall have to see, because eventually there are still 3 teams surviving. We do have ATR who slowly and steadily have been able to steamroll across. This is the 8th zone, 28 minutes in. Absolutely perfect play being showcased from all of these teams, and in that Final Touch you have to give a comment, because that team has been so very good. I mean, they have lost so many opportunities, but they have been so very good, and again and again and again they are just absolutely pincering down players from left to the right in the lobby, and are absolutely taking on fights and converting them into kills as well. What a play.
There we go. There we go, Final Touch getting the chicken, and we talked about this team all of a sudden. I mean, the team came in this match with just 3 men roster. Talk about that, the rotations that they were giving in, and certainly 8 kill, 995 damage. That shows the effectiveness that the team brings in. They were pretty much decent in terms of the kill number that they have secured. 23 total points helped them from 29 to 22. I mean, this is a day of comeback for Final Touch for sure.
Wow, I mean, if this is the kind of play that Final Touch has, then why, I wonder, did they miss those games? I mean, again, nothing taken away from them, because, well, we always talk about it. Comebacks, we talk about one good game, and this is how you play it. This is how you play your cards right. And again, I mean, just absolutely dominating play coming in from Final Touch, even though it seemed like a game that should favor ATR based on the aggressive stance that they had made. Same can be said for KSX, but eventually, those were not the teams. It was Final Touch, the X factor in this fight. Amazing, amazing, incredible. I just hope as the day progresses on, this team keeps on bringing that sort of a play style for themselves.
Wow. Final Touch, I mean, the chicken is served for them, and I guess I mean, the logo is also what predicts them, the chicken. I mean, I don't know why that resembles me of that chicken, but Rebel obviously getting 4 kills in the favor, and a total of 8 kills is what they have been able to secure, and a lot of teams that have gotten a lot of kill in this match for sure, with obviously KSX getting the total points, and we can count the number of kill. It is going to be 6, so 18 points for them. And obviously for a lot of team, talk about ATR, they have also gotten 10 kills. I mean, ATR, Exitron Red Army, they came from the western side. I mean, they were also looking good. Apart from Error, rest of the all 3 players, talk about Sweet Love. You remember that grenade that was completely locked into the lap of the opponent teams, and then it was an all easy affair. I mean, Exitron Red Army, talk about Final Touch. I mean, is it a day of comeback for all the teams that have lagged and have not performed till now? maybe this can be a case.
It could be. It certainly could be. It seems to be the way because, again, when it comes down to that final fight and the teams that were part of it as well, it was the X Factor from Final Cut that absolutely just perfectly Final Touch showcased that, yep, we will have the final say in the fight and we are going to be the ones who will run away with that chicken dinner for ourselves. And again, I mean, nothing stopping them pretty much because the way that they were so aggressively making a stance against the two teams, KSXX as well as ATR, with, again, just a 3-man squad. So perfect play for this team, but we shall see what sort of a play style will they make when it comes down to the second game of Miramar. But right now, talking about the play style, I mean, there was these kills, kill-hungry teams, but in all of that, I wonder who the MVP is going to be because, well, we are looking at IPG who were not able to be a part of this fight, but ATR were absolutely just completely dominating in this lobby. With 4 kills. It is going to be Sweet Love getting the MVP slot with 27 minutes of survival time, 4 kills and 3 assists.
A lot of healing done. We talk about the healing done. This was a team that was really indulging into the fight. Talk about them indulging with PXX and a lot of team Exitron Red Army in the last stage of the game. And before all that, they were also a part of a lot of fight. And in doing so, the team, all in all, you talk about them going down. It was also Macho Man that really went down from the sides of Exitron Red Army, but he was one that also got a decent amount of damage. 3 kills, 550. So a match that was completely dominated, but then it was again maxless from the sides of AXR. So a lot of player. I mean, out of the total 5, 3 Rs on the sides of obviously ATR, and then it was Arch Venom from the sides of obviously TT. And then we get to see the match summary where surprisingly it is going to be the most used Heaven, the last player that was surviving from the sides of PX Esports, that was taken down from the sides of Demon.
Absolutely, and as the conversation moves on through the match summary, we are again showcased with PX Esports who tried their level best to sustain themselves for the longest time against the brutal force that was being showcased from KSXX and ATR together, but eventually they walk away with that 9 point, find themselves on the 5th spot. But the absolute X factor in this game most certainly was Final Touch and their play. With 8 kills, 23 points is what they have been able to accumulate. ATR on the other tangent had 10 kills for themselves along with the 10 placement points, walk away with 20 points, and KSXX also chiming into the arena with 6 kills and 12 placement points, thus 18 in total. But again, I mean, what a kill-hungry match this was for so many of these teams. Because you talk about Archangels, they had 1 placement point, but 9 kills to them as well. So amazing, tremendous play being showcased from these teams. But as we move on to the second page of the leaderboard, this is where things are not looking too good. Learn from past, Oxygen Rising Star. I mean, learn from past, we saw them being hunkered down, and this was they were just pincered down basically. They had all the 4 players set up, but could not do much when it came down to their positioning. And of course, with that, they were sent back into the lobby with 0 points.
I guess Limitover was also a team that was a part of the northeastern contest around the Stolber areas, those ridges, those mountains, and in there they have 2 kills. That means they took the fight, but in doing so, eventually it's just that you exposed too much of yourself and then went down. Thundercloud was also there. It was Team IR that got the 2 kills, but I mean, the cost of them getting eliminated with no placement points whatsoever. And this was a team that got eliminated between 13 to 16, and just because of that, we got to see no placement point whatsoever. So a lot of, again, misery for the teams. Just talk about learn from past and Oxygen Side taking none. 0 is what they're standing for the moment from this match, and I guess, I hope, and it's the only option, it's the only right way that we get to see the teams might be chiming on, because still it is going to be the 3 games left for the day, the Miramar, the Sanhok, and the day ends with the Erangel. As we have been saying throughout this whole course of journey, it is the way the match actually pans out. But TREX Power, this was also a team that really relied upon the placement points. The player were pinned down in the early stage of the game, if you remember, and that was there because that's where they found themselves in a positioning points where they got that 2 important placement points, but was just not enough for them, because at the end of the day it was just 2 that they secured. But a good comeback that we talk about. Final Touch, I mean, missing a lot of games, having no experience whatsoever to playing in this lobby, but certainly this was their game. And then we head towards the Oppo F19 Pro moment, where we're reliving and getting to see what sort of moments that we might have missed or we would love to witness again. But then again, we'll get to see what sort of performance that will actually happening. And it was 17th minute from where it started to get the fight getting exploded, because in 17 minutes we have 15 teams and 50 players alive. That means the players are playing passively as much as they can.
This is the moment where LFP were absolutely caught off guard, and it was absolute destruction from the side of ATR that brought them down on the other tangent. KSX Sacks were the ones who pincered down the placement of PX Esports, and it was just this moment where the revenge was finally taken, but thus leaving with, of course, KSX with 3-man army. And as the journey continued on, it was a very perfect approach from the side of Final Touch indeed, as they took on those fights again and again and just completely turned the tides up in their own favor. KSX Sacks and ATR were busy, and this is when Final Touch completely knocked the charge off this lobby and got the chicken dinner for themselves.
Indeed, so was the case, as we just got to see, and then it was an all-easy affair for Final Touch. The last player was surviving, but surviving on that bushes, it was just not enough for them. Infernal Parasites have gotten not a lot of points, but still enough, just the 3-4 points that we're talking about, and that has brought them on the first of chart. But now they need to take the point on a regular basis. Consistency needs to be there, because Faceoff is the one that is surviving and is present above them with 9-point difference, and then it is a big jump that they need to do, the team needs to do, and then it is the century mark Gremlin Storm. So a lot of work, a lot of things to do for Infernal Parasites, as they are now at the 7th position, but still not looking pretty good in terms of the total things that is secured in the last match. But certainly KSX have now started making a comeback, and they will be giving challenge to IPG, as now all of a sudden getting close to where they actually want to be. 52 total points, not far away from where IPG is standing, is also one team where Limit Over has actually started to chime upon.
Well, looking pretty neat, looking pretty good, this page right here, where we do see TREX Power jumping on, of course, onto that 15th position for now. So again, it is going to be the top 11. That is what the fight is for. That is why, because 5 teams have been invited, so top 11 will move into the finals, and as of now it is looking, well, contestation is the name of the case, and that is what is being showcased from the entirety of these teams, all the 4 groups eventually. But as we move on to the 3rd page of this entire list, it is ATR right here who move on and get a better half of this fight altogether, because of course we saw them get a lot of kills this time around and have hopefully will be able to bring in that sort of a play to bring themselves to the 2nd page of the overall rankings. But Thundercloud, Phantom for UI, I mean, these are teams that are going to have to do a lot better to absolutely completely control the lobby, because the competition is so fierce. It's not looking easy for the teams who find themselves pretty much from the 20th to the bottom 29th.
I mean, what to say about teams like Oxygen Rising Star? Been consistent in terms of 1 average from each matches, 5 matches, 5 into 1, that makes 5. I mean, this sort of consistency I love, but not certainly when at finding themselves at the 29th position. Then it is also one more consistent team, that is going to be Team IR. Not much above Rising Star in terms of the 1 point that they're securing. I mean, also the numbers are looking good. 4-4, I mean, the sharing is good, but that 4 needs to be increased. That 4 needs to be increased to 14, 24, maybe somewhere down the line. And then they will be eventually getting the favor, because the top 11 will be aggressing. Martyrs 1971 is also one team that needs to be looked off. Martyrs 1971, they were just being pinned down when they were trying to make a rotation. I mean, in these sort of closeness area, you are getting the number, you are getting the shots. You have on the top left screen that how much players and how much teams are alive, and that rotation was certainly a foolish one, I would say, because you are amid a lot of ruckus. The fight is already on, and you are traversing with the US. One player was eventually thrown away from that US with the running US, the running spray that caught off guard by the sides of obviously it was PX Esports, and then it was them finding themselves away from that group. But certainly they need to put up a mark and put up a performance.
Most certainly true. I mean, that is the same case that Team IR also found themselves in. But again, that was just first game taken care of. We've still got 3 more games remaining for the day. But before we jump into game number 2, we're going to go on a short little break. Be right back.
Here we go now.
Are you keeping it real? I'm calling shotgun, wanna see my baby run. Oh, what's the word on the sea? We've been kicking up the dust.
Hello and welcome to PUBG Mobile Club Open, all thanks to Oppo F19 Pro. A wonderful turn of events is what this day has started off with of course Final Touch, a team that was missing from the action from the lobby, has chimed in along today, and what a destructive play that they've showcased. With that, we've got first game done on Erangel. As we move on through the schedule itself, now is the time when we will be jumping into Miramar.
Definitely, the Desert will be back in action, and the Final Touch having the final laugh in this last match again against KX, and it was also a good domination coming in. Will it be their match again? I mean, they must be looking for, but I really want to see all the 4 players joining in. I mean, 3 players with that sort of destruction, that sort of influential gameplay, and the instrumentality that's brought in. I really want to see all the 4 players. I mean, just imagine the 4 players that will bring the firepower, because the last game itself, there was not only the placement point that they relied upon. When it was the kill that they have to take,
True.
The aggression was shown to them. But it seems that we will be straight away right off the go, jumping into this game of Miramar. The Desert action is back, Blooder.
Oh yes, it is. And this time around, we're going to be jumping in with the flight path, starting off from the eastern front through the most interesting turn of events. It is going to be going all the way towards the north eastern front indeed, and this is going to be an interesting play being showcased, where a lot of teams now have the opportunity to actually go on down towards the Loco area, where indeed we don't really see a lot of teams making that rotation through towards the crater fields or El Pozo. Of course, there are a few teams that do go down there, but eventually now the circle is the one that will of course be the key, and it seems like maybe just maybe the circle is going to throw a curveball and get itself set up towards the western front altogether, but we shall see if that will be the case or not. But eventually, for now, it is going to be the teams jumping on along and getting the game started off. It is Team IR who are going to be going down towards the Chumasera vicinities, along with which it is IPGX also, who are last game they did not really have a lot of good fights. They did not have a lot of good points, but they did find themselves in the top 8. They found on the 7th position is what they jumped up to, and now they are going to have to be a lot more aggressive if they want to jump away from that 7th position, because they are almost 9 to 10 points away from the team sitting on the 6th spot.
Indeed, it is perfectly explained by you, as the teams are now slowly and steadily moving in, and the curve wall that we were talking about, the curve wall is certainly into the fray, as now Los Leones is up for contestation. If KSX wants those early rotation and try to be and sit in the middle of these rubbles, because I would say rubbles, because if the circle contracts towards the area of Los Leones, it may find very difficult for the teams. And talk about the team for Archangels, the team that was looking good in sort of the fight that they were taking in the last game, and need to certainly rely upon some decent and some influential rotation if they have to make it close towards where they are standing at the moment, because Campo Militar, I mean, these 2 extreme cities, it's generally we get to see a lot of teams that have an interest into going into that city. But since it is there, it is going to be ATR, the Exitron Red Army, that is having a better control of that. But El-Azhar might be a city of contestation, as I just get to see the orange and yellow marker. A complete all berserk is what I expect. And El-Azhar, if the players are there, the city is not that much big in order to get all the surface of loot, and the players are slowly and steadily getting away. And it seems that FOF, the team, might be falling away from the situation, but it seems that now they're in the position where we're taking the fight with Abir taking one more knock. It is going to be a day in for me. Where are you going, my dude? Where are you going, my friend? You will be taken care of, as he is trying to finish off the player, but getting instant shot from the sides of Viper. Viper is on the cross, and he will take him down for sure. And this is not looking good, as now 3 players on the knee. Novo bot, he is the last player surviving, as now Abir with the charge. He has the confidence, and not only that, it is going to be Divide also that will be trying to rip apart and tear apart the whole team. All of a sudden, learn from past. It seems that it is going to be one past affair for them, and it's one thing, it's one game that they want them to be in the past and not to actually imagine what sort of rookie and mistakes that they have done. And it is just a moment where they'll be taken care of. But before having that, it is going to be Divide that has fallen down thanks to that onslaught that is coming in, and all of a sudden it seems that now the fortune has turned around all of a sudden, brother. Yes. He has done 1v2.
What a play indeed from the side of Novobot. Indeed, he jumped out of the balcony, jumped out of the window, sorry, and then chimed in along through the stairs to take on the damage and bring in that perfect spray control onto BadBlood's players. BadBlood have already lost 1 of their lads, and eventually as the game progresses on along, it is going to be a conversation for Novobot to finish, because eventually this has turned into just 1 kill for themselves, and Novobot, of course, has not a lot of health remaining for himself, but this is going to be quite a tricky affair between these 2 players, where eventually it is a conversation rotation for Daedal right here to try and convert into a kill, and it perhaps seems like so very close the team of BadBlood is to be able to convert that into a point for themselves, but the final player of LFB is not allowing that to even take place.
Viper has eventually brought 3 knock. If we just talk about that, one player has given the revival, and again he's the one that has taken care of. 2 players have completely thrown away from this lobby, and it seemed that it is all up to Viper, who doesn't even have even one bandage whatsoever, but still the eagerness to not let that fort getting breached is what making the team still survive. It is a commendable job. He needs a lot of applaud the way he's trying to take up the fight, and what sort of fear he has actually inhibited and inculcated in the opponent's mind, that even if they are men advantage, strong 3 men are not having the courage to charge upon one single player that is still surviving on just 10 HP. And now what is this happening actually in this area of Elazar? But now finally he has been taken care of, and before that happens, a lot of heart-wrenching, I would say, moments have been thrown onto the players of FOF. The players really tried to do it. BadBlood was the team that was trying to bring them down, but certainly a big statement that has been thrown from the sides of Novo. Bot, the name is Bot, but he's certainly the pro player.
Well, it was just absolutely perfect play being showcased from these teams. Absolutely destructive, and again we can clearly see the vengeance that was based on the fight itself. I mean, Kratos right there just bursting in with those perfectly set up grenades. But in all of this, Abir has lost his life, and Abir is the man who started the fight. He was the one who turned that 1v3 situation. He was able to get 2 knocks from the vehicle, and then another one, thus leaving only Novobot all by himself. But again, LFP showcased good synergistic plays for themselves. LFP's players were trying their level best to try and survive, and did actually pincer down many a times the players of BadBlood. But in that, of course, the final fight was in favor of FOF BadBlood, as they had the numbers advantage. But for a moment, it seemed a little bleak with that. Moving on into the game itself, we do have K6 making that rotation very close to the players of Final Touch, and this is again seeming like Final Touch maybe are going to be a part of the fight, but we shall see if KSX allows that or not. For the other tangent, talking about Los Leones City, we do see IPG finding themselves in there along with the team of Thundercloud, and that conversation could very well result in a fight, into a urban fight that we shall see if will be the case or not. On the other tangent, a team that dominated in the previous one, that was ATR, walking away with 10 kills, are finding themselves in the blue zone towards the northern side of the map, and hopefully will be making a rotation real soon.
Definitely, they will be making rotation, but Campo Bilitar and Torre Humada are being left for the moment, as now TT Archangels are coming in, and if they try to go towards the aid of Elazar, it will be again, they might find a fight between them, but FOF was certainly not in a position the moment ago. We saw them, they were down on HP, they were down on first aid, and they didn't have the best of the best loot. They didn't have the machineries that you need to have to take up the fight, the minis and those DMRs. Eventually that's the secondary gun, but for primary it is going to be the AR, the assault rifles, and as soon as later they will be getting their hands onto that, they will be making a move too. But before that happens, it is seemingly that the ATR squad has not gotten at least one vehicle, but the moment I said, it seemed that now they have getting the vehicle, and the marker has certainly changed into the driver's seat. That means they will be coming into the circle for the moment. But Los Leones, I mean, just one more shift. I would love to see what sort of gameplay, what sort of strategies the player have. An urban finish, a city as big as Los Leones, I would love to see, and it will be a treat for not only us but to the fans too. But certainly not the players would have loved to be there, because a lot of utilities used, a lot of third parties, a lot of passive gameplay is what we can get to see, and the use of utilities, to when it used to perfection, can actually create a lot of influence. But from the other side, there is a big crowd, there is a big congestion, a huge traffic is what we can get to see.
Well, talking about rotations, there are a lot of teams making that rotation through the North San Martin region itself. We do have, of course, the team of TREX Power. Alongside them is, of course, going to be the side of Oxygen Rising Stars, and next to them is going to be Limit Over. So 3 of those teams making that rotation, and joining along with that area is going to be FOF's BadBlood, and this is where, towards the northern side of this zone itself, things are going to get really tricky for the teams. But eventually, as they are going to be in the vehicle for now, we are going to have to see which team will be the one who will try and stop the rotation on the other side. As we move on towards the western front, we have only Martyrs 1971 making a rotation through there, and it is your word, Ankit. It seems to be the circle is going to go down towards an urban finish, as we still have Los Leones absolutely in the center of the zone, and in that we have PX Esports, we of course do have IPGX along with Thundercloud. So City, it is getting certainly a little congested.
Thundercloud have a good chance, have a real good try over the chicken. I mean, not only chicken, if we talk about the kills, they can eventually get hold of those big buildings, those big towers in Lost Nuance, and just trying to scout down the players and try to rain down bullets as far as possible. And talking about the reigning supreme thing, it is going to be a Thundercloud's player that is going to be Surprise Evi, that is pretty much close to where IPG players are positioned. It is also Bangla Avi that is creating the flank angle, but all of a sudden, since the circle has meant that central shift, the teams from the side and the players from the side of Infernal Parasites are just trying to get hold of the bigger elevated and high altitude compounds, but this Dictator's grenade will just be in vain as no other players in the position. But it is going to be Bishal that can get the better half, and on the receiving end, if the grenade could have been on that side, but Dictator is certainly the one that might be a resistance and that might act as an impediment force between the players pushing onto them, and if that happens, he will be the one that is holding that window, and from that window he can really reign supreme and just trying to bring the players down. But for the moment, it is going to be the IPG, the team that is really looking strong, but they need to make sure that there is one big hill, that one ridge, and that is being controlled by PX Esports for the moment.
Well, PX Esports certainly are going to be on top of this entire area, and in doing so, they are going to have a lot of information for the other tangent. As we talk about fights, we did see the team of TREX Power taken on the players of KSXX. The kill was not yet confirmed in the kill feed, but the knock was certainly confirmed. And of course, as we move on towards the city itself, IPGX, they have had teams around them, but when it comes to the way that this is working out, it is not looking good, because eventually this is the play that is being created from IPGX, but I am not entirely sure what sort of a play is this being made. They are in the vicinity, they do know that there are teams around them, but exactly what sort of a play can they create? I mean, this is not looking too good and easy for them, but of course it is going to be a bit tricky affair for the side of IPGX. But again, as we move on along, this is not going to be there's not going to be a conversation for this team to answer, but we shall again see what sort of a play style is IPGX trying to create. They are out in the open, they are moving and making rotations, but again, I mean, nothing working for them for now. And it seems like they're going to be moving out of the situation itself. We do see Snicks going on to a completely different flank angle approach. Following him is going to be Sadhu, and Dictator is still sticking to the arena. So we have these three teams, PX Esports having the fight for themselves. On the other side is going to be Infernal Parasites, who are trying to take dominating fights, and Thundercloud also in the vicinity, in the warehouse, right next to IPGX.
One more shift that blue bar is filling, and we're just waiting. If the circle tends to go into the city, it is bound to happen that it will be up for contestation, but still IPG being the more passive one, being the more wise one, they are in a split. If we just talk about that, the two purple markers in a complete different split, but the shift eventually will decide the fate and seal the fate of the most of the team. And especially if we talk about the shift, I guess it will be PX Esports that will be getting the better half, even if the circle is making the hardest shift. And there we go, still in this Deathmatch Center is where they are sitting, and in that doing so, there is one more trench where no other team would love to be in. We have seen in the past, when any team tries to be in that dip, that is a deathbed, that is a graveyard that eventually gets created for them. But it is going to be a tough task for Martyrs, because they have completely rotated from the edge of the blue zone, and now since the circle are trying to shift away, and now since adding more to it, that there is a lot of traffic on the western side, that is going to be KSX, it is going to be Final Touch, it is also going to be Oxygen Rising Star. I mean, mammoth team, gazillion of teams, they are present on the west side of the circle, and all the ridges will be beautifully contested, and it is going to be a big pursuit for 1971 to make an entry. But before that, it is going to be Hitman that is not hitting, but on the other side of the bench, and they are being pincered down, as now they are being cut off, as they are not being allowed to make an entry into the zone. The perfect gatekeep situation is with Oxygen are playing at the moment with one player with that extreme flank angle. If we get to see on the minimap on the right hand side, three players are trying to pin down all the players, and the smoke cloud is with which they are surviving. But Hitman has been finished with that Oxygen Rising grenades, thanks to the grenade, spot on grenade, and with that, one kill being secured.
What a play being made from the side of Zadu right here of Oxygen Rising Star. Indeed, as they try to take on this fight, it seems like TP are going to have to absolutely back out of that situation, because this is not looking too good for them. But of course, on the other tangent, when it comes down to Oxygen's positioning itself, right behind them is going to be Final Touch as well. So, of course, Oxygen Rising Star do want to be able to convert this into confirmed kills for themselves, but they have to be careful of the flank as well, because as they are creating the flank, they could very well be the ones onto the receiving end if Final Cut decides to chime into this fight. For now, that is not certainly going to be the case. It is going to be TREX who are just steadily holding that fort and ground, but for how long will they be able to maintain this position? I mean, we are seeing a lot of aggression from the side of Oxygen Rising Star, but nothing coming in from TREX Power for now. Finally TREX Power making the use of those utilities, going to be trying to push against the approach from Oxygen's players, but will it be enough? Because Zadu is just so on point again and again with the nade parade that has been able to create. This is looking like absolutely the end for TREX Power based on the play that they are trying to make, but eventually we shall see if that will be the case or not. And again, it is only Zadu from the side of Oxygen Rising Stars who is absolutely punishing and pushing along to get TREX Power absolutely in pincered down position. And the flank angle player that is from the side of Oxygen Rising Star, well, I'm not entirely sure if he's actually chiming into the fight for the moment or not.
They are not letting them come in. They are not letting them come in. As Zadu is holding that extreme flank angle, but some players are still on the edge of the circle. And now Zadu trying to get more and more info. He was sitting in that buggy just in order to get that more and more information for the moment. And it seems that now TREX Power with that some different sort of approach. Now they need to actually find those different angles. Some Car 98 shots are being used in order to get the players knocked down. But since the player is completely close, now Zadu has gone for that approach on that flank angle, and he is leading the charge, but he needs to make sure that the push with which he has gone towards, the players are ready. There is one more grenade. Is it that grenade? Is it that grenade? It seems that it is the grenade that has exploded, and Zadu has the brilliant sound clue. He has read the sound clues, and just because of that, he knew that after the knock that gets secured, there will be some more grenade coming in. Zadu onto the very susceptible position. He is on the verge that he might be taken down, but a complete annihilation is with which Oxygen Rising Stars players are coming in. The star is rising, Oxygen Esports, they are rising, and so the players are slowly and steadily, they are punching their hands into there. It seems that they have got a sense of victory in this fight for sure.
They most certainly do, and Zadu was the man who created this entire push in favor of the team of Oxygen Rising Star indeed. I mean, this dude was absolutely phenomenal in terms of the way that he used those utilities and then made the push against the players of TREX Power. Eventually, TREX Power being the team that will be eliminated, and with that fight being taken care of, now Oxygen Rising Star need to get away and into the comfort of the zone, because the zone is almost 400 meters away from their position. But again, I mean, the points have been confirmed for them, so a GG play indeed. And as we move on down once again in towards Los Leones City itself, we are chiming in along with Thundercloud, who are still maintaining their perfect approach to this warehouse that they were in, and right next to them of course is going to be the team of PX Esports as well on top of the hill, and it is going to get very busy right here in the city, because the teams are being rushed on to get into the zone, and as they do so, they will be fighting against the placement of course compounds and positions. And right now Phantom for You's Emperor is the one who seems to be absolutely rushing against the players of ATR. Last time around it was of course the team of Exotron Red Army who were beautiful in terms of the way that they were able to take the fights, but this time around it seems like that is not working in this team's favor, as they have not got a single kill confirmed for themselves. But with the knocks from one player to the next, it is looking like Emperor is going to be reigning supreme. And in doing so, he is going to get 2 knocks confirmed. What a perfect approach. Exactly, but just perfect reflexes and approach the way Emperor is making right now from the side of Phantom for You.
What a reflex from the sides of Emperor, and in doing so he has eliminated 2 players. They are on their knees, and at a very brink at the edge is where ATR's players are surviving, and now he is using all the utilities just in order to get a lot of shots, and he is the one player that is reigning supreme in all these areas. He needs to give revival, and now realizing the fact after pinning down the player, he is running back, he's showing the back, and this is one bad thing that may find themselves in a graveyard situation. But for the moment it is going to be IPG that is completely dictating the lobby against Thundercloud. But with that being so, I told you brother, he's showing the back, and showing the back is one thing that may lead to his demise.
Well, Phantom for You's Emperor tried his level best, tried to take on the fight, but as he noticed that 2 of his teammates were already knocked and brought down, He tried to give them the revival, sadly did not favor him, and it was ATR that got the better half of that fight and points. But what a play that was created against the players of ATR. But moving on along, it is going to be PX Esports now that will be chiming in against the players of IPG. Now IPG again, Dictator knew exactly where this team of PX Esports were, and now after completing the annihilating play against the players of Thundercloud, have pushed on against the players of PX Esports, where Showman, Chiku, as well as of course Heaven are trying their level best to create a flank angle. But will it be enough to go against IPGX? Because IPGX, well, they are looking absolutely dominating right now.
They are staunching, they are pretty much close to where the PX Esports player are actually aligned, and it was near, it's still near, that is holding their extreme flank angle, but still not bringing one knock, and that's what can hurt the chances of PX Esports getting the better half on this fight, because it's IPG. It is going to be the one team that really need all these skills. In the last game itself, they were the team that did falter down with just getting 2 or 3 total points, and this game, which is a Miramar, they really have a strong suit at this moment as all 4 players are coming in, but realizing the fact that it seems that it is impossible for them to get the better half from these fights, as they have already lost a lot of time. They are now falling back with Dictator, Mahfouz and Phoenix, everyone just falling away. PX Esports, the fight, it seems that it is averted, but as soon as Dictator finds himself away from the situation, he was being peppered down with a lot of lead, and that brought him down to just 20 HP surviving. But PX Esports Chiku is finding himself in different fights. That means PX Esports at a time, they are handling and managing with 2 different teams, and from the backhand side it is gonna be AXR that is reigning supreme, and in all this situation IPG might be sandwiched between PX Esports and AXR.
Well, ATR certainly chiming in along with the 2 players that are going to be pushing on against the team of course, 3 players rather from the side of ATR going to be pushing against the players of IPGX. As Ankit did perfectly mention, there could be a little bit of a sandwich situation that could be created, but PX are looking in control. They are slowly and steadily going to be jumping into the comfort of the zone as well. And on the other tangent, it is Limiter with Nitrogen, who is seemingly bringing in some annihilating play for himself as well, as he gets to be a part of the kill. And of course, this is when PX also bring in some domination against the players of IPG.
Near goes down thanks to the north side that is coming from that of Martyr 1971, and Ragnar is the one that has brought one more knock, but Phoenix is now pretty much away from the player. One grenade is actually lobbed in, and it seems that Showman has actually read and heard that sound cue, and that brought some relief from that side. That means the players are really pretty much aware of the surrounding, but it is going to be IPG that is now going to be retaliating, as now they know that it is PX Esports and they're positioning for the moment. It seems that now it is too late for PX Esports because they have not pinned them down, and it is going to be IPG. If not pinned them down, if given one more opportunity, they will be reigning supreme. But on to the different side, it is going to be some more fights that is also erupting, and it seems that now ATR are just sitting passively under the thick smoke cloud that they have created for the moment. Dictator is getting a lot of shot, Mahfouz is getting a lot of shot, but PX Esports, they need to shut down the players. Shadu is approaching towards where Showman is holding, and backhand side is controlled by Near, and Near is getting a lot of information by the whole these fights, and this is looking amazing for all these fights that is happening. But from the different direction, it is going to be Martyrs that is still trying to pick a big blow, but Macho Man falls down thanks to the round block that is coming from side of Martyr 1971. And in all these fights, it is going to be Dictator that is now trying to dictate the lobby. He is going into 1v1 fight. Mahfouz is going into 1v1 fight. It is going to be Heaven that is still surviving from side of PX Esports, and he is going to be the last player surviving. Mahfouz Whitey so low on his ability, and he will be taken down in that thick smoke cloud, and that was not enough to save him and save his team, as now Heaven is still hiding. There is no more situation, and it's not more often that we get to see bushes into the game of Miramar, but whatever be the way, he is the player that will be trying to recalibrate his movement forward.
Well, PX Esports' final player, Heaven, right now surviving. Of course, he will not be able to give a revival to his teammate, but it is all thanks to Martyrs 1971's aggressive play that has dominated against IPGX, and eventually in doing so, IPGX have lost one of their players already, and another player is knocked as Martyrs 1971 push on against the players of ATR, confirm their kill, move on now to take on the onslaught to the face of IPGX. And as Martyrs 1971 are coming online and showcasing some perfect plays, they are going to be crossing the final player of PX Esports. So we shall have to see if Heaven is going to be able to bring in some sort of a play or not. But before that is even allowed, it is Dictator and his teammates who have completely annihilated the play that was being showcased from the side of course, Martyrs. And in that perfect performance, this has resulted in this team absolutely getting decimated in this lobby with only 5 teams remaining. This is looking like a conversation that IPG should be able to absolutely retaliate against, and they are doing so perfectly from one knock to the next. They are just bringing, spenceling down their team, their opponent teams.
Be it with the close range fight, be it with the semi to long range fight, or be it with long range fight, it is IPG that is shining, and all of a sudden it's the team that is to be watched out for the moment, and it is the team that needs to get the chicken. But in all these situations, they need to realize that it is going to be Lost Esports that is pretty much close towards them, and Limit Over is the one team that is now been getting pincered down, with the players now getting the revival. It is seemingly a lost cause for them, because the hill with which IPG has dominated for the last 10 minutes is in a complete control to them, and until and unless they are not thrown away and not getting a disadvantage of it, they will be holding all the ridge. It's just the moment where the circle tends to shift away, either to get to them side or to some other players. There will be a one moment where Lost, Limit Over have really one good chance, but with Nitrogen, Igniter, Siam and Blaze, all 4 players standing, the morale is completely high. With a total of 10 kill is what Limit Over will be fighting their metal out, but then again it is going to be one big Goliath, one big massive team, and that is going to be of IPG, but from different direction. It is going to be Oxygen right inside, that is from the backhand side. Sakai OP is trying to pin down the player, and he is going to be the last player surviving from his side. Blaze is trying to take him down. He comes down, but the fall drop shots will be taking him down, and Blaze will be taken care of thanks to that onslaught that has come in. 6 kills is what the team is standing, and that will be converted into the 3 kills that now Sakai OP has it for now. He is the man of the moment. He is the man of the moment, but will he be able to do so? We have to still wait for that.
Well, in that conversation, he will lose his life, and it is going to be Limit Over against the players of IPG now. A 3v3 situation is what these teams find themselves in. Nitrogen has a perfectly set up nade parade that is going to be bringing to the onslaught of Sadhu, but eventually, when it comes to the playstyle, Limit Over has also gotten a lot of kills. 10 kills as combined effort is what this team has been able to accumulate, and IPGX on the other tangent are looking at 9 kills. For now, IPGX are going to be able to hopefully get a better half of the fight, but it is not going to be allowed, because Siam will take down Dictator from the flank angle, and now Siam is going to be moving on along to get that kill confirmed for himself. And as he does so, Mehfooz YT is right around the corner as well, and Mehfooz YT will try and get the better half of the fight. So it is turning into quite an interesting affair, where indeed IPGX have one of their players down. It is going to be Mehfooz and Sadhu who are going to have to bring in the conversation for themselves, and they have done so absolutely perfectly. And in that, it is now turned into a 2v1 situation, where the final player of Limit Over, Igniter, is going to have to try his level best to take on this fight and onslaught to the face of Mehfooz YT. But eventually, when it comes to the fact that Mehfooz YT's vest is absolutely blown, it is going to be based on the skill point that will be showcased and the skills that are in the name of IPG. They are creating a perfect flank angle, but seems like Igniter is going to be taking a perfect turn of events for himself, because he's going to be bringing those shots and knocks to the face of IPG. Now it turns into a complete 1v1 situation. He's going to be applying those perfectly set up bandages for himself, and going to be getting himself absolutely set up with the loot as well from the crate. He is looking so very good. Igniter right here is going to get himself patched up and then ready and prepped to get into the fight. But Sadhu, what are you going to do with this just small little distance remaining between these two? Who is the one who is going to be trying to bring in the fight again? It seems like Igniter is going to be trying to sneak peek into the area and going to try and push against the player of IPGX. It seems like a lost cause. Both the players being very passive-aggressive for now. Sadhu certainly trying his level, but eventually he does not want to move away from the situation. And on the other tangent, talk about Igniter. Well, he's being absolutely quiet. He's not wanting to move. He is going to be absolutely waiting for Sadhu to try and make this fight.
Left and right, peekaboo, which one is going to be the one that is going to be peeking? But for sure, Shadu has the most, the talk of altitude is where Shadu is having the better half. But Igniter has gotten the level 3 helmet, level 3 vest from that exclusive drop, and if he tries to bring that thing into his favor, it is going to be the one player that will having the most of its own way. But certainly the painkiller and the bandages, and as you perfectly mentioned, the players are patching up, and this is for sure that the fight is not happening for maybe for next maybe 30 seconds, as the now players are just waiting for one wrong movement from different players from different direction. Now Shadu tries to make a move. Left flank is what he is doing for his time, and Igniter is just waiting. He is waiting for that head, that small little head. If that gets connected, he will be taken care of. But for the moment, it is also Igniter that has not moved an inch towards where the player have moved towards, but still Shadu is holding that angle. He is the Scarel, and the opposition one that is from the sides of Limit Over, that is going to be the Igniter one. And I guess this is the longest fight that have extended for more than I guess 1 minute, and we are still witnessing. The fight is still on, the banter is still on, and we are still yet to witness which is going to be the one team that is going to be that chicken dinner. I have my eyes set upon IPG. That's what I've talked about. IPG is the one that really have that Skarl in his own hand, and it is a fight between IPG and obviously gonna be with Limit over Igniter. M416 Skarl, I mean, if the fight goes in the close range, both the guns deal the complete same damage onto the level 3 helmet, onto the level 3 vest, but we talk about the recoil. I mean, it's pretty tough to control the recoil of Shadu, according to me, that I have gotten towards, but fight is still on. The fight is still on. It's Igniter that has actually filled up the bar for that energy drink with the help of Painkiller, but the fight is still on. Now, Igniter tried to make one move, but Igniter is the most desperate one to get that chicken runner. Will it be enough for him? We have to still wait for that. The fight is still on. The fight is still on. He gets one shot, but still not enough.
Well, both of these players are trolling each other for now. Of course, they are being absolutely on point in terms of the onslaught, and finally a headshot is what was brought in from the side of Igniter, and of course it was only a level 2 helmet that was in favor of IPG's player. Eventually Sadhu will be brought down, but what a play that was. Limit over a team that we were talking about, the X-Factor team, so to say, have been very, very good in terms of the kill department, and now find themselves with 14 kills on the 7th position of the leaderboard.
Exactly, I really preempted IPG for that chicken, since the number advantage was actually favoring them. Not even the number advantage, it was the altitude, it was the range of the Miramar that we were talking about, but certainly Limit Over really turned the fortune in its own way, and that level 3 helmet and that level 3 vest eventually helped them, and that M416 also helped them in that course. But for the moment, it is going to be the most valuable player for the moment, and the title will be given to one player, and that is obviously gonna be Igniter, the last player that got the chicken for Limit Over. 5 kills, 766 damage, 1 assist, 219 healing done. I guess the 219 is just in the last part where he was just patching himself up, using the utilities and using the first aid and using that painkiller drink, whatever be the case, but he was on a complete fresh 100 HP.
Most certainly, and worked in his favor as well. What a play that was in the final few moments of that fight. With that is the MVP brought onto our screens, along with which, as we move on the conversation towards the top players, this is where IPG are dominating. I mean, there's the only two teams, the final two teams of the lobby that were, of course, Limit Over as well as IPG. These are the two teams, players who we find them right here in the top players list, and a perfect approach from Limit Over indeed, as they have been able to take a lot of kills away from this game, getting that chicken dinner as well, most certainly working in this team's favor. Even though IPG were also looking very, very confident in terms of the way that they approached, but again, I mean, you have to commend Limit Over's play. I mean, as you were perfectly mentioning, Ankit, when it comes down to IPG, they had the numbers advantage. They had, of course, the control of the altitude, as you say, but eventually Limit Over's kill completely brought them down.
You remember that left flank from the sides of one player from Limit Over? It was Sayom, I guess, maybe from the left-hand side, that brought one player down from the sides of IPG, and then it was an all-easy. But then it was also Dictator and Mifuz that tried to bring the player down, and finally we just saw the most elongated fight that maybe lasted for maybe more than 2 minutes, and then it was an all-easy affair for Limit Over to get that chicken. It was not an easy affair, but he made it look so easy. With 293-meter longest distance kill, it is going to be Nitrogen, obviously, from the winning side of this moment. And all of a sudden, IPGs and Limit Over have taken off this match summary list.
Oh, yes, indeed. What a play this has turned out to be. What a day this has turned out to be. With 29 points, 14 kills is what Limit Over walked away with. So total 29 points, find themselves on the 7th on the overall ranking. Infernal Parasites going to be on the 2nd, of course, right here with 11 kills to their name. 23 points is what they went down with. Along with that, when you talk about the teams that are in the top 8 right now, we can see that Final Touch was also chiming in with the 10 points that they were able to accumulate, 2 kills and 8 placement points. So again, we can expect Final Touch to move up in the saga, as well as Martyrs 1971.
Exactly, as you perfectly mentioned. But some teams that have really had my eyes set upon, I mean, AR, the Exitron Red Army, just the 3 total points. Phantom Forge UI, again, one more upset from that side. Learn from past, one more not good performance. Thundercloud again faltering down. Team IR and TREX Power are standing on 0 points after this match ends, and certain teams are really not looking good in terms of the total points that are securing. But we'll talk more about this, but since it is the moment for Oppo F19 Pro Moments, we'll get to see all these memories afresh, where we'll be heading towards to see the fight that started erupting in the early stage of the game. This was also one of the banter that we got to see when the beat started taking down the players. It was an easy 2 kill that is secured with Jester switching with AKM, and then it was one more beautiful knock onto Viper bot, and then it was Novo's gameplay all in all.
Absolutely. I mean, Novo absolutely for this moment was so very good in terms of the way he handled the situation. Of course, it was the side of BadBlood who were pushing on along with very much confident approach, but eventually it was Novo who tried to try and pin them down as the conversation moved on along towards another fight. This was Oxygen Rising Star, and the entire fight was based on just one player's push, and that was absolutely so very good from Zadu. But as the conversations kept on moving on from one fight to the other, this is when things started to go absolutely crazy for IPG, because they were just chiming in along from one kill to the other. This is when they from 2 kills moved on to 5 kills and then were able to stop Martyrs in their tracks and then moved on to 9 kills, and this is when they met the side of Limit Over.
Indeed it is, and this was the elongated fight that we got to see. It was Coral versus M4 vs 6, 1 head, 2 head, and there we go. It was a chicken, obviously, for Limit Over, and how, at what time it has been brought. When straight right of the go, they have got a lot of jump. The greens actually signals the Limit Over have made a comeback in the first half of the chapter. The 8 of game 6, it is them standing at the 76 total points at the 7th position with a huge number of kill tally. If we just talk about that, because they are sharing the same number of kill tally with Infernal Parasite that is standing above them with just the lead of 6 total points. And this was certainly not looking good, as Final Touch was also a part of this, but since they didn't got this a chicken. I mean, Final Touch in the last game also tried to make a comeback, but this was a game that was completely dominated and had a startling effect from Limit Over, Infernal Parasites. I mean, a very good game.
Very good game indeed. As we move on to the second page of this list, we do see K6Ax also making a jump for themselves as they find themselves on the 9th spot, and the journey continues on for TREX Power to try and get as many points as they possibly can. From one fight to the next, TREX are trying their level best, but it's not an easy journey for them. But as this game progresses on along, we still have we still have 2 games remaining, Sanhok and Erangel, so the opportunities are most certainly there for these teams to get themselves into the better half of this entire saga, because after all, the fights are looking really neat from these two groups.
Indeed it is. I mean, the last fight if you also just talk about, but certain teams are just trying to make a comeback, and in that being one, the Exitron Red Army. In the last game, eventually, the team that got the 3rd finish in the game of Erangel, this game itself, not much of a point diff, but still enough to find themselves onto the 15th position, but that's not going to be enough. 43 is where they're standing, and at 11th position is where TREX Skeleton is standing, and that obviously the team is not playing today, so they really have a good chance in the next 2 matches to get over all the point difference, and there is not so much, just the 14-point difference, and that is pretty much doable if they try to get the placement points or kill points secured in the last 2 matches. I mean, there is a lot of opportunity, and not only for them, it is also going to be for the TREX Power.
It certainly is going to be the case. As we move on to the second last page of the overall ranking, we have Final Touch. 3 games that they have played. Amazing stats working for this team still. 35 points is what they are at. 24 placement points, 11 kills in just 3 games that they have played. So a long way to go for Final Touch, of course, but they have started the journey and started it in style is what I would say. On the other side, for Oxygen Rising Star, we did see them participate in that fight. Same conversation can be taken for, of course, Phantom for you as well as PX Esports, but it is a tough situation for them as the fights are not necessarily favoring them. But again, talk about consistency. Today's consistent team has to be Final Touch. I mean, the way that this team is playing is so very good, but along with all of that, the teams still have 2 more games remaining, so we could very well see IPG as well as Limit Over completely jump into the top 5 position itself, but again, that only time will answer. For now, we have, like I said, 2 games remaining. Before we jump into 3rd game for the day, we're going to go on a short little break. Stick around, we'll be right back.
Here we go now.
Are you keeping it real? I'm calling shotgun, wanna see my baby run. Oh, what's the word on the sea? Kicking up the dust, if you know what I mean. We got a good thing going. We got a good thing going on.
we go now.
Hello and welcome to PUBG Mobile Club Open 2021. All thanks to Oppo F19 Pro. This is the Bangladesh region where we're at, and in that we've got 2 games done based on the schedule. Now it is time to jump into third game, which is of course going to be on Sanhok. And for the moment, I mean, it is these wild card teams is what I would say. I mean, Final Touch, absolutely 3 games that they have played find themselves with good points. On the other side, talk about Limit Over and that final game as well that was showcased in the previous one was beautiful to be a part of. But now let's see what Sanhok has in store for us.
Yeah, we have it for the moment, and it is gonna be the Sanhok action, the tropical rainforest, and the snake and Strid reaction will be coming into way, as Hatin can be a sort of contestation, as we are getting to see 2 colored parachute, but it is going to be limit over that in a fan out approach. The players are jumping down towards the Jhao area and also onto the eastern side of them, but it seems that Hatin will be completely left barren just for Phantom 4 dividers. Now this is one team that I really want them to perform, else it will be too late for them, as now the players have started chiming and talk about IPG's performance. They have now been pretty much consistent in terms of total placement points. In the first game of Erangel, they did falter down, but once they made sure that they are getting their grooves up into and settle themselves into the game of Sanhok, they will be trying to take up the fight. There is no 2 ways doubt about that. But in the last game, what a fight it was, an elongated fight that we generally don't get to see. 1v1 affair, the Mexican standoff that we get to see. I mean, it is just the use of skill. I mean, there is no overpowering in terms of the numbers advantage. It's just the skill, just the game readability. And talking about the game readability, it seems that PMCO Esports have read and heard and seen and trying to decimate and dominate onto the players of Final Touch. The team that has started the days off in style, had the last laugh against KXX, is the one team that might face the brunt of the situation. Grenades and Molotovs are being used to perfection, but still not enough to bring one more knock. On the other hand side, it is Old Boy that is surviving on just 40 HP. He needs to patch himself up.
Well, this has turned into quite an interesting turn of events for the side of Final Touch. I mean, we shall have to see what sort of an onslaught can they bring to the players of PMCO Esports. For now, they are trying to take on the fight from the looks of it, and PMCO Esports are being very, very resilient in terms of the way that they are managing to control their positioning. And of course, now the conversation is what sort of a playstyle can we anticipate from the players of Final Touch. We can see in the minimap that Final Touch's players have decided to actually run away from the situation, and Imon, the 4th player, sadly finds himself in a bit of a ruffle, because after all, he's surrounded with opponents, and the only conversation for him is to either be very quiet, which he's certainly not doing. So of course, a lot of audio cues are being given away to PMCO Esports' players, and that is something that eventually PMCO Esports will retaliate against and get that first blood.
Easy as a pie for heaven. I just spotted him down, and not realizing the fact that he could have been surrounded for a different direction. It was just heaven that got the better half of himself, and he was the wisest one here. And since now the complete team has fallen away, it was the last team, it was the one player from the sides of obviously Final Touch that did lose out his life. But fortunate moment, I would say, for FT, because the rest of the players are just running away and finding themselves away from the situation. And 750 meter, and that is decreasing, I would say, and that is one good thing that might help them in the course of longer run, because where they're heading towards is the circle, and once they move and make an entry into the circle, these are the small little huts that is offered for them to have a loot, and they will be getting the loot segregated as soon as possible. Then they might find themselves in some sort of contestation and skirmish, but for the moment it is the one blood that has been brought down from the sides of Final Touch, and that has been Imon, leaving them with just 3 men alive. But I really feel sad for that guy, but because he was left abandoned, and he must be pretty much furious and angry with the rest of the lobby. Maybe
that is true.
His teammates.
Yeah, that certainly is true. I mean, the only thing that I can think of for the reason of this is maybe because, again, Final Touch did not play so many of the games, so they don't really know the drop locations of the other teams, perhaps from the looks of it, because had they known that PMCO Esports would have been there, they probably would not have taken that sort of a drop. But eventually, as they found the opponent team, PMCO Esports, in the same vicinity, they decided to absolutely fall back, and now are going to be trying to, well, get themselves in the comfort of the zone, as well as, of course, try and get the loot all sorted for themselves. Again, a decent turn of events for Final Touch. Eventually, it was a good call to get away from that fight, and have now resulted in, of course, giving them that much more of a chance to get into the zone, as well as another good fight that will maybe take place. They might just come across, but on the other side, it seems like TREX Power are taking on the players of Archangels, and it is Archangels bot with who has been brought down to his knees. So, of course, this is not the kind of start that the team of Archangels wanted or anticipated, but it is looking like that is going to be the cause, throw down to the Ruins region.
You remember the same circle, a deja vu moment. Yesterday's circle, it tended to go towards the area of Shami and then away from those compounds. Maybe some sort of same circle, because the circle, the initial circle is still the same, but some sort of different approach we might get to see once the circle might go for the second or the third shift. But the fights are erupting. The fights are erupting onto that Ruins area, as you perfectly mentioned, where TT's player, that is going to be of the Archangels, that are facing the brunt of that TPs, and that is going to be of TREX power, and that is going to be area of Ruins. But the player at the animation, grenade is being locked down, and Gyro God is using his gyro to perfection, just to trace down the player with the help of the crosshair, pretty much perfectly aligned. But again, it seemed that he is a lone warrior in all this situation, because one player have been finished up, one player is bleeding, and the rest one, that is going to be Gyro, obviously RJ, still pretty much on the backhand side. The revival is still not the case, and could not be the case, and doesn't seem to be the case, because he is pretty much away from the situation. Molotovs and grenades are being constantly used just in order to bring him down to low HP, and that has been successfully been the case. But Venom, he needs to watch some different direction, as he has been brought down to also 70 HP. But Gyro God, his future certainly looks bleak.
Well, on the other side, it is going to be IPG chiming into the action as well, as they take on Learn from Past. But right now, when it comes to the teams that are on our screens, we can clearly see that the play from the side of, well, TREX Power is not working in their favor, and Archangels are going to absolutely obliterate that competition. 4 points to them. TREX Power getting eliminated right off the bat in the first 5 to 6 minutes of the game itself. So, again, not the kind of playstyle that was anticipated from TREX, not exactly required also, but that has just been the case, and they will lose the opportunity to gain points from this game. On the other side, Archangels looking very comfortable with the 4 points. All 4 players still standing and surviving. Moving on across through the board, they are going to be chiming in to get a lot more point and a lot more kill as the game progresses on.
Definitely. I mean, early squad wipe is what each and every lobby and team is up to for, and if offered with this easiness, this is what they will be getting from this. But for the moment, it is going to be RJ that we have just gotten to see getting finished off. But certainly Infernal, Parasite, GX, the player that just a moment ago saw pinning them down, the players of obviously Learn from Past, are now trying to just push them and just trying to escalate onto this fight, as now slowly and steadily the push is on. The Bucky is closer and have been slammed onto that small little hut where the Learn from Past players have actually taken the TPP advantage. But it seems that without knowledge, the players are entering but still getting the better half of all these fights. Have been a good push that could have been spot down, but Shadu has certainly got the better half of that grenade that just was lobbed in onto his spear. But from different direction, Dictator has came in and have the better half, as Mahfouz puts the final in the coffin, with Viper bot getting eliminated in the early stage of the game. It is still one early elimination for Learn from Past.
Absolutely. While this fight was going on in the kill feed, we saw PX Esports were finally able to catch up to Final Touch and were able to actually bring in the knocks against the players of Final Touch as well. And now, as the conversation moves on, it is going to be IPG who are still not yet done as they progress on along against the players of Limit Over. Limit Over, all 4 players in one single boat is certainly not going to work out, absolutely not going to be favoring them. And now, of course, IPG know that there is a team right over there in the water vicinity. They are going to be keeping their eyes out towards that exact same region and will most certainly want to convert that into easy kill for themselves. But will they be allowed to do so from the side of Limit Over is what we shall have to see. For now, they're just trying to spot the team as much as they possibly can. As of now, they have not been able to do so. But, of course, they are going to be resilient in that. And right off the bat, in the first few minutes itself of the game, this team has been able to accumulate 5 kills and are going to be pushing on for more.
Fishing. Lay the trap. Let the fish come in. Blaze is the first one. Which fish? The sushi one, or which is going to be the last one? We have to still wait for that, but they are going in the blues. You need to come in, and all of a sudden it seems that they have also gotten a lot of shots, and now they will be swimming things up. Just imagine if the boat gets connected and gets close to the players of obviously Limit Over, they can really have a good time. But Shadu has been knocked down, and that has came in at the right point, at the right moment. Certainly LO also getting the better half of this fight, and IPG, the players are also trying to pull them down. With Blaze and Sam just surviving on the sliver of an HP, it is looking so bleak, and at any point, at any moment, they can be pulled away from this.
This is a race. This is the Olympic race. Where again, I mean, the greed of Mehfooz, YT and Dictator is what has resulted in them being the chasers now, and of course it is going to be Limit Over who will reach the edge that earlier than IPG's players, and that is something that of course will teach IPG's players a lesson that greeding is not the way to be, and that is what this game has turned out against the players of Limit Over. Now, talking about Limit Over, we know that this is an aggressive team. This team does like to take on those fights, and being pushed in this sort of a situation,
They're
this is going
different
to be
direction.
this is not going to be exactly. This is not going to be a position that Limit Over wanted to be a part of. But eventually, it seems like at least for the moment, they are going to be surviving.
Definitely. And where is the other player of IPG? The question is still out there, because I see two players. That is going to be Shadu and obviously Mehfooz. Shadu has been pinched away from this match. But since it's one more player, Shadu has been finished up. Two players in the water. One player is still on the land. And it is going to be obviously Sanhok, but it's pretty much away from the situation. But as you perfectly mentioned, greed is one thing that you don't want, at least in the real life and obviously in the virtual world also. And just because of that, it was a moment where IPGs had to go for the longer rotation, and in doing so, it is going to be a tough task. From where are going to be make an entry? Is it going to be from extreme camp alpha side and then trying to use those bridges? I mean, a lot of opportunities, but all these looks big. But because of that, it is going to be Painan, where the hotbed of contestation is already laid down as KX Esports. KX players are now finding themselves away from the situation, but slowly and steadily the fight will be on. With that being said, it is also going to be an easy task with IR peppering down some bullets onto KSX. We can expect some fight around the area of Painan, but apart from that, each and every player and every team is far-fetched in that approach.
Well, as the game continues on fourth, we do see the players of, as you mentioned perfectly, through towards the Painan region. We do see, of course, teams getting themselves set up in the center of the zone itself, which is going to be Painan for now. But will there be any contestation is what is the conversation. But on the other side, talk about the team that is going to be PX Esports on the run on trying to punish the players of Final Touch for having jumped into their own area. And this is where PX Esports will get another kill for themselves, and Final Touch not having a good game in this one. Rebel has been able to get a little bit of a damage on towards Heaven, but of course PX Esports are also going to be trying to chime in along to get that kill converted for themselves. Eventually, Final Touch find themselves with just that one player surviving. That's going to be Rebel, who has created a smoke for now, but how far is he going to be able to run and go, because PX Esports is on the hunt.
He's running. He has used multiple smokes, a thick smoke cloud. A path has been made, but so are the players from PX Esports are on a run, and it is going to be a chase for him, and whoever chases him will be getting the thick kill secured, because he has shown the back. And we know in this game, especially in this battle royale, you cannot just show the back. The crates are there, and that might lure out the players, but no, that hasn't actually lured off, and still the players are on a run to actually take down the last player. But Sadu again just peppering down those M416 onto the players of IR, and that fight maybe is erupting onto the southern side of Painan, where we just got to see IRs are actually positioned, and all of a sudden they have attracted a lot of attention, as now KX is also pinning them down.
Well, what a play this is turning out to be. KSX, of course, right there we are looking at the kill feed, where finally it is on the screens as well. It is going to be Team IR taking on a fight against the players of Oxygen Rising Stars, and Oxygen Rising Stars, Hendrix has already been brought on down to his knees. Zadu goes down to his knees as well. Team IR absolutely trying to control this fight from the looks of it. They've got two players lost to the cause, two players still remaining, and the two in that, it is going to be Frame Drop, who has been absolutely perfect in terms of the spray that he has been able to create, and thus has rendered Zadu as well as Zender down to their knees. But Oxygen Rising Star, their journey is not yet done, because they still do have two more players in the back, and as soon as Team IR try and push, that is when Zan as well as his teammate, who are on top of that hill, might be able to give that cover fire, and in doing so might be able to actually walk away with points. So for both the teams, the kills have not been confirmed for now. So of course they're both sitting at 0 defeats, thus implying that the kills have not been given. But we can see that on the other tangent, it is going to be KSX Axe who have actually stolen the kills away from these teams.
Definitely, the kills are being stolen for sure, but all of a sudden it is looking also bleak for Oxygen, as now player have been finished off, and now the kill have been secured. This time it's no leak, as now the Team IR Frame Drop getting that one kill secured for this team, but still a 0 on its number. Zadu will not be will be a gone cause for sure, as the revival is pretty much impossible. If any at all player tries to do so, he will be also taken care of, as the player from sides of IR have had their crosshair set up onto them, and in doing so it is going to be the Frame Drop that will be dropping his bullet onto his chest, on his head, and getting things done for his team. But apart from all these things, it is going to be Team IR. The big challenge for them is to how to find themselves away from these compounds, because for a moment, I mean, if the circle goes for the shift, just imagine if the circle tends to go away, it is going to be this team that needs to come out of these compounds, and then it might be a chance where KSX, that is having the ridge, that is having the altitude advantage, might take down the players. But I'm still waiting. IPG's player, look what a sudden, all the three players are now congregated, with Synix being the most farthest one onto Camp Alpha, have now suddenly find themselves in the safe group where IPG, all the three players are making.
Well, they made it. They made it alive. That's the end of that. But eventually, when it comes to the circle itself, when it comes to the zones that are being created right here, so many of these teams find themselves very much segregated. I mean, we have down towards the southern side. We, of course, have the team of ATR that is going to be finding their own little area. But now the circle shifts. And as the circle shifts, it is looking very comfortable for the side of PX Esports, as they had just made that rotation from the eastern front and are now going to be jumping into the zone's comfort. And as they do so, they could very well try and dominate and get into the center compound that we can clearly see is not been taken over by any team. On the other tangent, the other teams are also going to be trying to do the exact same thing. We can see from the final player of Final Touch, that's going to be Rebel, making that water rotation and getting into the edge of the circle as well. He is still surviving. That means he's working towards getting those placement points for now. On the other side, it is Team IR and of course KSX who are still going to push on to get into the better half of this arena.
I told you, brother, these ridges that they have the control of. I'm talking about KSX now takes one more player down. Sanhok again being the better half of this player, being the most wisest one, brings one more knock, and this is going to be a tough affair for the last player standing. But before going on, he makes sure that he will be taken care of. But for the back different side, it is gonna be different team, and this time it is Oxygen Rising Star that take care of KSX, and since the player has given a lot of shots, that kill has been secured in names of Oxygen Rising Star, and now KSX needs to surely regroup, recalibrate, and then come into the fight. But for the moment, they are holding the important hurts, and one team that is Cloak trying to make an entry into the circle, and that is going to be of Infernal Parasite. I mean, their misery is just not ending with Mehfooz YT going down. Synix is the last player surviving, certainly not the way IPG would have wanted to traverse, and he's still striving. He is still traveling, giving a lot of sound cues. I mean, is it a suicidal?
Well, they're just trying to get in the comfort of the zone, but then there are so many teams around in the vicinity that will not allow that rotation to be made, and it is going to be Martyrs 1931 who get the better half of IPG's rotation and still convert that and into a kill and a point for themselves. With that, 11 teams remaining, 17.5 minutes in. Fourth zone is where we find these teams in, and eventually, when it comes to 11 kills in this small little area, there are going to be third parties that are going to get started in just a few minutes' time.
It has already started. It has already started, as now FOF BadBlood has gone down. One player being knocked down, that is going to be the dead Dill, and it is going to be a big deal for the players to actually get him revival done. But they are holding the important ridge, and they can actually gatekeep the situation for most of the team. But on to the other hand side, it is going to be Thundercloud that is now coming into the fight. But all of a sudden, it is looking bleak for Martyrs also, as now ATR have started chiming upon. One player has been already knocked down, three players still surviving, but from different direction. Exitron Red Army are taking the fight, with Error also going down. Both the team have dealt an equal and proportionate amount of damage onto each other, but one more player goes down, and that is going to be the Maxless, thanks to the Onslaught that is coming from different direction. This time it is going to be PX Esports chiming in, doing the third party.
Well, third party is certainly what this game is turning out to be, where so many kills are being confirmed from one side to the next. As one team takes on a fight, the other team chimes in to steal the kill away, and that is the name for that is the game that is being showcased from these teams in the lobby. With that, PX Esports chiming in along with one more kill confirmed for him. It is going to be ATR at the receiving end, sadly. And eventually, when it comes to the kills itself, PX Esports sitting comfortably on 5 kills. So 5 points already secured for them, but they are a 3-man squad, as this player right here, Showman on our screens, finds himself at the edge of the zone. He's trying to, of course, collect as much information as he possibly can. On the other tangent, when it comes to his teammates, they are on to a different approach altogether and getting that much more information from the other edge of the zone as well. So a GG play being showcased from the side of PX Esports, but will Showman be able to get this information for the final players of ATR? Well, no is the answer. He will be moving away to get into the comfort of the zone. 60 meters is what the distance this team needs to cover.
Indeed, it is. And 660 meter is going to be at least 600 meter for them, because the toughness, the fierce competition, the zone, and obviously the lobby brings in. It is not going to be an easy pursuit and easy travel for them, as now 3 killers were strangers from the sides of Archangels are standing for the moment. With now PXC Sports charging upon them, it is just a moment where they will be completely eliminated. And just because of that, we got to see one more team getting eliminated, and this time it is going to be Oxygen Rising Stars. The Rising Stars have certainly fallen down in this match again, but certainly this is going to be a tough call for Phantom 4 UI to give a charge upon onto the players of FOF. FOF are holding the edge of the circle, and they are in the compound. They are in the compound. That is the point of the moment, and they really have a good chance to get them converted into a chicken. But in this compound, it is going to be a lot of more teams that really have their eyes set upon. With PX Esports having their crosshairs set upon the TC players, it is going to be a tough challenge, and now grenades are being used. PX Esports have done it pretty well in this match. If we talk about the fights, and not only this match, all the 3 matches that we just saw, be it with the game of Erangel, the Miramar, and now the Sanhok, they use the utilities to its perfection, and just wait, they get opening, and then they try to make a push.
Well, that is so true indeed, and that is working in their favor. KSX jamming in with the FOF BadBlood right there and taking a kill away from them. PX Esports are still not yet done. They are absolutely retaliating against the players of Thundercloud right here, and it's going to be Chiku who has the information, and he's going to be retaliating perfectly, spraying the player down, and in that losing, of course, nothing to himself, but Thundercloud is down to just a one-man army, and that's going to be Bangla. We are on our screens, but will he be able to retaliate against this onslaught from the side of PX Esports? Certainly not looking like the case, and they will be confirming that kill down to 8 kills. PX Esports, amazing way this team is rotating and getting themselves into the zone itself. Looking at the mini feed itself, we can clearly see that one player is in the edge of the zone, the other 2 are just trying to completely decimate the players at the edge of the zone indeed. And along with that, another fight which is going to be of course KSX and BadBlood. Their BadBlood's Abir has moved on along and absolutely decimated KSX Axe 1 by 1. What a perfect prey that was turning out to be. But PX Esports now finding themselves at the receiving end, as well as it is going to be his teammate TREX who has been brought down to his knees. So not a kind of play that was anticipated from them. But apologies, not PX Esports. Phantom 4 UI is the team that I was talking about, where indeed his teammate has been given the revival, and this team is also ferociously moving on along with 7 kills confirmed for them.
Indeed, 7 kills is what they are standing, and they are not waiting 7 to 8, maybe 9 to 10, and then get that chicken, or before that, eventually they might perish or peril. We have to still wait for that. But BadBlood, Abir is still surviving. This was a team in the game of Miramar that really survived the onslaught that was coming in, but then it was Nova. This time there is no Nova in this side. That means it is going to be a tough task for Abir to survive the onslaught. This lad has eventually shown the X factor that the team has in and has the gun power, but it is going to be tough over, because 3 players and 1v3 situation with multiple teams still in the vicinity. This is going to be tough over, with the circle still shifting away and favoring completely Archangel. Those rocks, those ridges can really come into play. But if PX Esports needs to get the chicken, they first need to shut down the players on the left hand side, and they are doing so. Showman and Nier are completely in the same vicinity, coming close to where Venom is actually standing. But in doing so, it seems that Venom is actually knowing the position, and in doing so, he has knocked down the player. But the trade has been made, since it is the Nier that has come in from the back end side, has made the trade. And with that being said, it is going to be BadBlood that has been sent to the lobby, with more and more players coming in from the sides of Archangels. It is going to be the one last player that is still alive, and we are down to this 3v1 affair, and this is a sense chicken. 11 total defeat, 1 more kill will be 12, and maybe a 27-point chicken.
What a play indeed for PX Esports. I mean, this team was looking so very good in terms of the way that they absolutely retaliated against the positions of other teams, eventually getting a chicken dinner for themselves. Phantom 4 UI also got decent amount of kills for themselves, so they will also get amazing points that will work in that team's favor. Both these teams needed these points, and of course with that 12 kill finish is what PX Esports has showcased us, finding themselves in the overall ranking on the 15th spot. So amazing play with 2,241 damage. It was absolutely bonkers performance from PX Esports.
An influential gameplay, I would say, because not only the kill, the damage number is also one that we certainly get to see somewhere in the game of Miramar. However, we get to see 2,241, especially in the game of Sanhok. If the team has done it, they need to do it. I mean, everyone talk about Chiku, Nier, each and every guy is brilliant in its own way, and we have seen this happening in the past. The gun power is just phenomenally well. It was just that the formation that the team was going in this match, you just saw Archangels getting their back spotted, and then they were taking them down towards one more team from the right hand side that were taken care of. And one thing that PMCO Esports have done good in this match, especially that they really didn't allow any team to survive in the proximity, and that's the best way if you try to bloom and flourish in the game of Sanhok. Try to reduce anyone if they are coming in the vicinity, in the proximity, and you are getting the chicken.
Well, that is true. That is so very true indeed. And in doing that, of course, this team has moved on to the 15th spot. So a perfect play and a perfect game being showcased for them. Another team to watch out when it comes to the overall ranking is going to be Phantom for you. What sort of a play, or rather what sort of a point have they been able to accumulate throughout, and where exactly will they be when it comes to the overall ranking? But for now, of course, let's have a look at the MVP coming in from this game, and the most valuable player from this time is going to be Chiku.
I mentioned this name. I mean, this game has been the player has been the X factor. If we talk about all the rest of the game, he has been that that man of the moment. It's just that he got a lot of assistance from the rest of the teammates, and they have just stepped up, and resulting thus in getting a high fragging game. And in doing so, Chiku becomes the most valuable player title with 7 kills, 685 damage. I mean, the kill conversion ratio is certainly been phenomenally well in terms he is getting. So survival time is not so much, as we get to see the Sanhok getting finished in a quick time. 1 assist, just the 91 healing done. I mean, a complete power pack performance coming in from Chiku, and especially the whole team PMCO Esports.
Most certainly. Along with that, let's move on to the top players list, where indeed we do see the team of PMCO Esports as well as K6 Sanhok right there on the second page with the second place with, of course, 3 kills, 673 damage that he was able to participate in. And following him is going to be PMCO Esports' Neo with 2 kills but 676 damage. Amazing turn of events. So again, I mean, talk about 685 damage from Chiku, but 7 kills confirmed for him. Whereas on the other side, the other players, they were part of fights. They were certainly bringing down players, thus the damage, but sadly not being able to convert them into kills.
Definitely. And with this heading towards the match summary, that completely shows that it was a domination by PX player, because the Chiku comes in highest kill. It was Chiku again the highest damage, Near with the maximum assist. I mean, this duo working in tandem really made it possible to get close towards they were actually aiming, with obviously Phantom UI more and more players joining into the match summary. That means now they are also having that influential gameplay, and that can certainly be spotted down and justified when we get to see the match ranking. And there we go, we have the hashtag 2, obviously the team that got a 9 kill in this match. Eventually not only just the placement points, Phantom UI, it seems that they have started making a comeback. And since it was also a game for TT Archangels that really looks strong, certain teams did perish down in the early stage of the game, but the first half of the start looks pretty good, because 7 points for Infernal Parasite, and in that 6 is the kill.
Oh, talk about it. I mean, yes, IPG, they are just so dominating in terms of the kill, but hopefully they start working towards those placement points as well. And as we move on to the second page of this wonderful match, it is going to be TREX Power, who walked away with 0 kills. Sadly, learn from the past, also were not allowed to get any kill or placement point for themselves. And with that, the combined effort that was showcased, let's have a look at the Oppo F19 Pro moments, which will showcase some awesome plays that were showcased right off the bat. And in it, it was PMCO Esports who got this limelight started off. Along with that, when we move on to TREX, as they tried to take on a fight against 4 Archangels, were not allowed to dominate, and it was of course Archangels that clearly walked away with the 4 defeats in their favor.
Definitely, and I guess it's there at that point where the PMCO Esports gained the momentum, because one team getting decimated completely in that rough way, that was certainly the man of the moment. But then we head towards the fight that was happening into this area. Team IR's last player really did try to take that 1 kill before going down, but then it was from the backhand side. Again, Oxygen Rising Star. So now Rising Stars have chimed in, have came in certain fights, but that has been in the patches, and the consistency is certainly lacking for their side. But certainly this was one good game for Phantom UI, where they got a lot of points in terms of placement, and we got to see a lot of players also spotting them down. Then it was an all easy task for them to take down a bead from the sides of last player standing, and then PMCO Esports Near made it possible as they got the chicken in this match.
Well, what a play this has turned out to be for IPG. Find themselves on the 4th spot, a perfect play, and now their journey starts, because now they are going to be trying to gun towards the 3-digit mark in terms of the points. For now, Infernal Parasites find themselves, of course, on the 4th spot with 89 points. But as we go on down from there, Limit over on the 7th, KSXX have made it from the 9th to the 8th spot.
Yeah.
And as we move on to the second page, this is where things are looking interesting for, of course, PMCO Esports.
Definitely PMCO Esports have now suddenly all of a sudden, they weren't looking good at this point, at this moment, before this game actually happened to be there, and that 27-point lead certainly held them secure. and 49 is where they are standing with 22 total kill, 27 total points, just few points shy away, and they can actually make a good jump till 10 because just the 59 the point difference is not so much, just the 8-point difference between them and the team standing at the 9th position. But a big but, because FOF BadBlood still not looking good at this moment, with the Phantom UI now starting and chiming in, getting a lot of kill in this match. They have now also gotten that green marker, certainly justifying their way, but Team IR now they have slowly and steadily stepped downwards, and all of a sudden the team that final touch the place have now been replaced by Team IR.
Well, again, Team IR, they were part of fights. We've seen them take those fights as well, but eventually the matches are running away from them. The opportunity is certainly running away from them, and in that, it is not looking good when it comes to the overall itself, because the competition is getting that much more fiercer, and every single game is showcased with that. We've got one final game remaining, but before we jump in with the final game of the day, we're going to go on a short little break. Be right back.
Here we go now.
Are you keeping it real? I'm calling shotgun, wanna see my baby run. Oh, what's the word on the sea? Kicking up the dust, you know what I mean. We got a good thing going. We got a good thing going on.
Hello and welcome to PUBG Mobile Club Open Bangladesh Region 2021. All thanks to Oppo F19 Pro. Hashtag book up your fun. We've got 3 games done for the day. 1 final game remaining where we will be jumping on back to Erangel. And again, I mean, you talk about first game on Erangel. It was final touch that showcased some wonderful play. I mean, unknown play is what they showcased. And hopefully, again, when it comes to this game, it might just be a chance that they would want to dominate against. But with that, of course, let's have a look at the schedule and find out when it comes to the games, how have these fared?
Definitely, the first game, as you perfectly mentioned, final touch at the final off, then it was limit over, and the last game that we just witnessed before the break actually chimed in, it was PX Esports dominating the day completely and making an upward leap. But this last game, the match 16 that you get highlighted in that green letters, is gonna be sealing a fate for a lot of teams, because at the end of the day, the 8 matches will be done for at least, I mean, all the teams, I guess, because it was Group and B and C that was playing in. But the producer is actually hammering my ears and he's asking me to get into this match, and we get towards the match as the thundercloud is reigning supreme for this moment. And will there be a thunder strike in this game of Erangel? We have to still wait for that. For the moment, Thundercloud has been silent throughout the day. Can this be a moment for one last time, at least for today's gameplay, where Thundercloud can have a real reign? We have to still see. We have to still see, because Thundercloud, when they played in their group, when their games were actually panning out, they were looking completely all berserk. I mean, the gunpowder, you talk about the formation, you talk about the rotation, they were just looking strong. But certainly, throughout the whole course of the day, the rest 3 matches, they have been on a misery side.
Well, certain days some teams do really good. Certain days some teams, really well-known teams, also falter down. So it is just one of those sort of moments where we shall see if that will be the case or not. As of now, military base, the only team that we see that has moved on down to that is going to be none other than ATR. And along with that, when it comes to the game itself, there seems to have been a little bit of an issue as, well, we're back again on the screen and the game is going to get rehosted. But before that all, we were looking at the teams, and the teams were very much comfortable in terms of those drop locations as well. But whatever the situation is, of course, it will be rectified and we'll be jumping back any minute now into the game itself. But talking about the plays, I mean, it was interesting. It was interesting where ATR being the only team that moved on towards military base. And I mean, we don't normally anticipate that, but because IPG also is part of the lobby, right? Yeah. And but again, I mean, like I said, the game is going to get rehosted, so we'll find out what sort of a play has been created in that. But it seems like we're going to be jumping into the game itself, and with that, we shall see where exactly are the players rotating. It is going to be, again, ATR, yep, the only team that is going to be finding themselves on the military base. And as the conversation moves on forth, we also do have, yes, PX also moving on down towards the Milta from the looks of it. And talking about the center of the zone, PX Esports are the ones who have found themselves in the center.
Wow, what a split, what a map, and what a moment to be in the dead smack center is where the PX Esports players are there. Not eventually, all the players are pretty much close, but it is a good cast split, which I can see from the looks of it. From the northern side and on the eastern side, the players are in a split. The showman being the one that is completely far away, but it seems that we need to jump in towards the area of Georgiapul apartment side, where we are getting to see the, obviously, those city areas where Phantom 4 UI is taking an individual fight against some certain teams. And as we just mentioned about IPG not jumping into the area of Nowhere Uptai, there is one secondary drop location for themselves. Whenever the flight path doesn't forward them, it is going to be one team that jumps toward the northern side of those Georgiapul area. That's where they are getting the moment. But it is going to be Martyrs 1971 that is also indulging in some different fight. And in all these fights, we didn't expect that to happen. But since Martyrs is completely in a different position, they are in Savarni, there's no point taking themselves into the fight. But the fight is erupting. The blue, the red, the heat wave is coming out from the area of Rozok onto the eastern side, where it is going to be Oxygen that have got the early blows. And again, the receiving end is on to the one team, and their misery is just not ending, as one player, it seems, that has been lost from the sides of Team IR.
Absolutely, and one team that has not chimed in through this game is going to be Learn From Past, who have sadly not been able to participate in this final game. And again, when it comes to Learn From Past, they do not need to be playing like this, because they need these points if they want to be able to move on along in the top 11. But eventually, whatever the situation, we are going to be playing with, of course, just these 14 teams in this lobby. And in that, the perfect aggressive start has already started hammering down this time around, as of course we just mentioned, Oxygen Rising Stars are the ones who are going to be bringing down the players of Team IR, and thus once again leaving Team IR with a 3-man squad. Now, again, I mean, you talk about Team IR, they are not looking good when it comes to the overall ranking as well. When it comes to the play style that they bring to the table, they try and play very passively, but they do end up getting themselves caught in different fights. And whenever they do, it is either the rotation that they are hunkered down with, or it's the fight itself that they shy away from. That results in, of course, them not getting enough points for themselves. But for now, it is going to be Oxygen Rising Star who are looking perfect, and as they move on across from these school apartments, they are going to be accumulating quite a lot of utilities for themselves, because we can clearly see there's not a lot of loot that they've been able to accumulate, but it is only 4.5-5 minutes in the game itself. So of course this is just too early to anticipate or expect the players to be absolutely set up, but that is what the play is being made for now. Team IR at the receiving end, as was just mentioned, and this team has lost their player QXOP.
Oxygen Rising Star could have made a push because they knew that it is a complete squad, and with one man getting reduced, there's no more a complete squad, and they could have gone for the push, but certainly they are being on a safe side and just trying to take the fight maybe in the later on the mid stage of the game, but not in expected trying to go in the early stage of the game. But for the moment, it is going to be the Team IR. After losing one player, they need to strategize something really well, because they are on the last half of the chart, somewhere down the line on the 29th or 30th position. We just got to see, but it is going to be Infernal Parasite pretty much close to where Phantom UI are there, and it seems that Cynics doesn't know anything if at all if the players from the sides of Phantom have made a comeback. They have made an entry, and they have made a slithery entry into the player side, and it is not looking good for IPG, as now Cynics might be just find themselves in a situation, in that extreme situation where he might face the brunt of all the 4 players. But certainly Cynics unaware of the fact, but certainly Easy has spotted him down. At any point, at any moment, Cynics can be pulled down, and the moment he sits in the buggy, this is one bad shot, this is one horrible gameplay coming in from the sides of Easy, as he could have been easy knocked down the players for Cynics, and that could have been a big blow to IPG, but has certainly not been the case. But since Cynics is completely away from the rest of the pack, it is going to be a tough challenge, and the team needs a big rescue effort if they need to actually rescue Cynics.
Well, that is so true indeed. For now, Phantom for UI getting the better half of this entirety, but eventually it is going to be IPG Cynics who finds himself a bit caught off guard, and in doing so, thankfully he has not lost his life. He does have the information now, but again the conversation is going to be based on, if he is all by himself, what are the chances of him actually returning to his teammates? It is not going to be easy, of course, but we shall see if this is going to work out in their favor or not. But eventually on the other side is going to be the fight that is taken for, of course, Archangels, as well as the team that is going to be TREX Power. Now, TREX Power have gotten a knock and a confirmed kill from the side of Archangels, and Archangels have been able to dominate against Shimanto, and eventually he has lost his life, thus leaving TREX Power with only a 3-man squad. But they have the safety of the compound, so that's going to be absolutely perfect, working in this team's favor. But will it be enough is what the say is, because when it comes to TREX Power, this team also do need to get a lot of points. We are going to be completing so many games for all these teams, and again, if they are not able to confirm kills for themselves, if they're not able to get placement points combined along with them, that is going to be tough situation for the side of TREX, as they will not be able to qualify for the finals. And again, when it comes to the finals, only top 11 of the overall ranking are going to move on along, because 5 teams have been invited, and in those invited teams you've got the likes of Venom Legends, A1 Esports, XB Blood Legion, INES, Black Bulls. So those 5 teams are just absolutely behemoths when it comes to the PUBG Mobile Bangladesh region, and in that, when it comes to that sort of a lobby in the finals, it is going to be tough situation for a few of these teams to try and get into that arena and then dominate. And again, this is just the fact, and certain teams are not going to be able to participate in that, and even if they do, well, it is still going to be that much more tough, because if this is looking like tough for these teams, for example, the teams that are finding themselves on the final page of the leaderboard, like Team IR and the likes, then, well, finals lobby is going to be that much more crazy. But for now, of course, as we move on to the map itself, we do have MARTYRS 1971 taking a fight against the players of Phantom, and it has been MARTYRS who have lost 2 of their lads already. Shadow and Serpent, only 2 players surviving.
Definitely not a good sign for any team to start things off, as this is the way they have actually found out. But pretty much closer, the query area, those ridges, is where Oxygen Rising Stars have positioned themselves. But suddenly a good rotation and a successful pursuit is where FTR teams will find themselves into, and now they are into the mainland and they don't have any sort of rotation resistance. If we just talk about that, with the players now coming in from different directions, it is going to be obviously LO that of a limit over the team that has actually started things off in a way. I would love to see how actually FT, the team that is going to be final touch, if they dare to take the fight or not, because still a lot of space is back and still a lot of compound. You all see those 6 houses onto the shoreline areas, that is still up to grab and any team can get control of it. But on to the northern side, the fight is still erupting. It is going to be obviously TP that is obviously going to be of TREX power that is still taking the fight, with the players getting knocked again and again. The revival, it seems that it's not going to be the case, as now Phantom UI is slowly and steadily moving their way into the zone. With the Hitman getting finished, it is going to be easy kills for 4 Archangels, as Boom Twice has knocked the player, and has not only knocked, the kill has also been confirmed, with Gyro God and the rest of the players getting hold of those important compounds around the hospital areas. They are looking strong, and not only strong, they are now peppering down the leads. Those AKM can be detrimental as it can be, but for the moment it is Archangels that are in a complete split, and Venom's location, it seems, is still anonymous to the players of TREX power. If player from the sides of TP does one slight rookie mistake in doing so, they will be punished if they are found in the open. But now Archangels might be going for the rotation since they are in the circle. It is no hassle moment for them, and still they are looting up all these crates, but they have their vehicles segregated. They have individual buggies and those US, and once if they decide to go, they will be having a safe passage. But certainly the rotation has been cut off, as now Abir gets one more kill secured, as on the receiving end this time it is gonna be limit over.
Absolutely. I mean, for the side of FOF BadBlood, I mean, Abir is the man of the hour every single time. He's the one who ends up taking those fights and getting those points for the side of BadBlood. Of course, not to imply that the other players are not doing much, but it is always Abir who shines and is always in the limelight, especially when it comes to the kill department from BadBlood. But eventually, as the journeys continue on, the rotations are being showcased from so many of these teams. 11.5 minutes in, we still are looking at so many of these teams just slowly and steadily moving on along. And with that, it is going to be the team of Final Touch who find themselves in the vicinity of Abir. Now, Abir has a pretty neat spot, and of course, on the other tangent, Limit Over's Igniter sadly is going to be fallen to the cause as he made that rotation. But eventually, of course, that is also probably based on the fact that there was another team that was trying to burst him, give him burst damage, and that has perhaps resulted in him falling down based on his rotation. But the team of BadBlood have themselves segregated in a very tight, neat triangle.
But is it going to pay them off? Because this shack is where Divide is holding themselves, and they're in a complete open situation with other player from sides of IPG holding those important ridges on the northeastern side of Gatka. It can be a moment where the players might be spotted on, but it seems that Divide position has been exactly spotted on thanks to that on spot coming in from the side of IPG. But as you perfectly mentioned, Limit Overs players are facing a lot of grunt, as now second player from that side falls in rotation. I'm not sure how many players are still left from their side, but it is complete sure that one kill has been secured from the side of Exitron Red Army, and they are holding the southwestern side of the circle. Eventually, not only the southwestern side, they are holding the center lines of the circle, but PX Esports getting important ridges and those important covers in the center line circle. They are looking pretty strong at this moment, and now slowly and steadily the teams are coming in, with IPG also coming in pretty much close to where PX Esports have actually positioned themselves. There is still a lot of compound that is up to grab, but in doing so, it is going to be Final Touch that will be getting those important fairy pair compounds, and onto the backhand side, it is going to be one more big team that is coming in slowly and steadily, and that is going to be of Archangels. But in all this situation, it seems that Thundercloud, that is going to be TC, those yellow markers, those yellow lads are coming in from the northern side, and they are going to be facing a lot of challenges. As now, Exitron Red Army is making it difficult for the player to survive, but PX Esports eventually chiming in, and all of a sudden it was looking good for them. But Exitron Red Army have given a lot of son cues, and just because of that, PX Esports just falling things away from the same position.
Well, ATR are looking very good in terms of their placement, and are certainly bringing in a lot of control in terms of the information that they've been able to retain based on the other teams making a rotation very next to them. But in all of that, it is now going to be K6Axe who have found a compound, and of course the safety net working for them. But for how long? Because ATR knows exactly where that team is on the other tangent. PX Esports were able to make that rotation and now find themselves against the players of Thundercloud. Thundercloud are at sadly the receiving end, and right here there there is a lot of action-packed performance being showcased from the Tesla of the IPG.
Indeed it is. Tesla getting upside down, but still the Tesla is powerful as the players are going for the rotation. All the 4 players all of a sudden deciding to get control of the shorelines area, and this is one good rotation if taken care of, because Stranger is pretty much close towards him. And yes, he has been spotted on, but no, spotting things down, but taking the players down is where Dictator will be falling off, as he had to do it in a pretty much quick time, because the moment he stepped out of his vehicle is the time where he was brought down to just 60 HP, and as soon as he started taking the fight, it was obviously Archangel's player that tried to bring him down, and with this IPG will be playing the rest of the matches with just the 3 players alive, and sadly that Tesla has been taken over.
That's the GTA. That's Grand Theft Auto, mate. What is happening? 4 Archangels certainly dominate against the players of IPG. Dictator has been sent back into the lobby, and with that, eventually, when it came down to the rotation that IPG were making, it made complete sense, but sadly, same was said for 4 Archangels, and they had already made that rotation, and that worked out in their favor. So again, I mean, late rotations and early rotations is what is being spoken about right here, and the 2 individual teams, IPG as well as 4 Archangels, showcasing exactly that. With that, the conversation moves on once again towards the players of PX Esports, who have found themselves very close to the proximity of Thundercloud and already had taken the kill away from Thundercloud, but eventually they also have lost a lot of plays as well, and now this perfectly set up nade is going to be so close to Bisal, but kill was not confirmed. A lot of damage certainly was done from Chiku's side, but like I said, again, the kill was not done, and Bangla's from the side of Thundercloud is going to be trying to retaliate with the Molotov, but perfectly set up nade, and this could very well result in the team being decimated. Perfect approach from Chiku.
Chiku, last game, MVP, again chiming in. The MVP stage and the MVP title doesn't go away, and this guy has actually shown and has actually justified why he was awarded with the title in the last game. This time it is again the perfectly set up nade, as Borla was just mentioning, has brought down the complete squad, and with that, 1 player has been thrown to the lobby, and now PX Esports are just trying to bloom in this lobby, and they are taking multiple fights after eliminating players. Now they're going for the rotation with Chiku, going for the cheeky angle. He's pretty much close to where the edge is actually positioned. In all this situation, it is going to be ATR facing the brunt, and in all this situation, Mehfooz Whitey is really fighting. IPG's Kabila is on the backhand side. It seems that IPGs have really made a different sort of approach, and in doing so, ATR have made them pay.
Youch moment indeed for the side of IPG, where there's only 1 player surviving from their side. On the other side, when it comes to ATR, well, they made a perfect push and have resulted in getting themselves the kills that they so very much needed. But in the kill feed, we can see that the journey is not yet done for the teams. We are looking at, of course, Oxygen, that is a rising star team that is trying to take on a fight against the players of KSX Axe, and in doing so have resulted in KSX being sent into a small little shack. And again, when it comes to this area itself, when it comes to the zone itself, this is not looking good, where so many of these teams are being caught off guard, and this perfectly set up nade parade from the side of PX Esports is near could be the demise for TREX, but will that be enough? We shall have to see. TREX's play is not going to be allowed to be made, and PX Esports get the better half of that fight.
He took 1 down, he brought near to 10 HP, he really fight hard in this situation. Gyrogod was the one, but eventually will perish as the onslaught that is coming in from the side of PX Esports is pretty much impossible in terms of the way they come in. 8 kill is what PX Esports standing at the moment. 1 player is knocked down, that means he needs the revival. He will get the revival, but as soon as KX will be coming into the circle, they will be peppered down and hounded by from 4 different directions, but it is going to be Team IR that is making it difficult for them to survive.
Well, again, when you talk about kills, yes, that is what this team is missing. The points that is missing. I mean, finally the kill is being confirmed right here onto Osman OP, but eventually just that 1 kill for the side of Team IR. So this is what we were talking about earlier as well. When it comes to Team IR, they need those points, and they do take on those fights. Nothing taken away from them, but eventually when it comes down to the kill department itself is where they end up lacking, and when it comes to the placement points itself, that is where they end up lacking as well. For now, they find themselves at the edge in the comfort of the compound, and for now, again, we are looking at Team IR in the kill feed taking another kill against the players of KSX Axe. So a decent play and a decent outing being showcased from Team IR, but is it a bit too late? Well, it is a start. It is a start though, nevertheless, so it is going to be working for them for now, but eventually again, the final story, the end result is to be in the top 11 to be able to move on along into the finals itself. And that, again, when it comes down to the matches, well, are just running away. The matches are almost coming to an end. There are only 4 games remaining for all of these teams, Group A, B, C and D, because 8 games have already been played.
Definitely, and in all this situation, it is going to be Martyrs Serpent. It seems that he is the last one surviving, but no, he has one more player left that is in the closer vicinity, holding those important, it's not a sort of ridge, but still a cliff that he can take the advantage of, but they are being pinched down. They are being pinched down, and they have been hunkered down on all this position, as now Hex OP is using all the utilities to its perfection. Serpent is being thrown upon with a lot of grenade, but with still no success. That means now Hex OP also need to go into the zone, and that is also going to be of 300 meter, not an easy task because a lot of teams are still waiting.
They most certainly are, and in doing that, it is going to be 4X who are going to be 4 Archangels who are going to be making that rotation away from that position where they were able to dominate against the players of IPGX, and of course made that GTA wherein they moved on along and took the Tesla away from Dictator. And now it is Martyrs 1971, a team that has already lost 2 of their players, Serpent and Shadow, the 2-man surviving, moving on towards the shorelines, getting into the zone 263 meters away out in the open. Not going to be an easy task. 9 teams remaining, 20 minutes into this game. This is going to be a tricky affair for the side for the teams that are remaining in the lobby. But PX Esports, with all 4 players alive, 10 kills as already confirmed, this team is absolutely dominating. But what a perfect approach from ATR. The spray being brought on from the side of Error has just completely decimated the players of PX Esports, and 2 players are already knocked. Thankfully, the other 2 are going to be close in the proximity to give them revival.
Definitely, the revival will be the case, but when they try to move into the zone, this is where the things can get interesting. And obviously for ATR, because they are only in the edge of the circle, but they really don't have much of a thing to hide from, and the last player, Kabila, is pretty much close to where Macho Man is positioned, and before he tries to retaliate, there is no positioning, there is no movement that could have done, and obviously the poor prone position obviously takes away the crossover to attach and aim onto the head of the player, and eventually on the body. He was not able to move because there was a buggy, and that leg got just stuck. But Error is 404, pretty much close to where IR's player there. One grenade can do the business. We have seen in this match itself, it was Chiku from the side of PX Esports that completely eliminated one player. Is it this going to be a case? Because Error 404 is really good with all the utilities in his way. One more coming into the way. Is it going to be enough for them? But no, it is just getting overshoot. But in all situations, PX Esports have made possible that all the 3 players are alive. 1 player again going down. The revival is still not the case. It's still far-fetched. But Martyrs 1971, 2 players that was not looking strong at the moment have now started retaliating.
Well, they certainly have, and have been able to confirm a knock, but a kill certainly has not been given away as of now. Along with that, Martyrs finally confirmed the kill for themselves as well, as Serpent will be taking the head off of Error, and Error has been sent back into the lobby. So a GG play being showcased from the side of Martyrs 1971 as well, but the circle, the zone is where the conversation is, and in taking that conversation towards the players of course, ATR. ATR is going to retaliate and try and pincer them down. With that, Martyrs 1971 left with only 1 player surviving, that 2 in the outside in the blue zone, so certainly not looking too good when it comes to his placement. But 7 teams remaining, 22 minutes in this game, and finally Martyr Serpent will not be given the kill to ATR. He will be going back into the lobby, thanks to, of course, the blue zone.
What a game, and especially for ATR, as just talking about. I mean, ATR really have a strong suit if we just talk about Erangel, because back-to-back, it's still not the sublime finish, but still 6 defeat is what they have for now. That means at least 6 points they will be taken away. But since they have come this close, they will be making sure that they will be also getting the better half of the circle. But now they have their crosses set upon onto the PX Sports East player, and the players are in the prone position, and just because of that, they are not getting a lot of infos. But the moment they get all these infos, they will be taking care of us. Now slowly and steadily the zone will be coming, and before that happen, it is gonna be IR's players that are now retaliating. But in doing so, it is gonna be them that will be getting the better half, as Easy from the sides of PT has brought down 1 knock onto them.
Well, Phantom for you is also right here in the corner. ATR had the smoke wall that was created that was saving them from that open brunt, but eventually as soon as the smoke dissipated, it was the teammate, of course, Macho, who was brought down. But now again, that smoke is going to be the only cover wall that will be created. But on the other side, talking about PX Esports, they are making a push, they are making a rush, because the compound is going to be the safety net, and that is where we see Final Touch's players also find themselves in. So Final Touch have 0 kills for themselves, but they certainly are working towards those placement points. On the other side, when it comes to PX Esports, they are now going to take on IR, and Chiku again and again with those perfectly set up nade parades is going to be bringing down the players of IR one by one.
He is onslaughtering the complete lobby. We talk about the early stage of the game. He used that grenade. We talk about the late stage game, he used it, and now it is down to the 4 team and he's still using the grenade. I mean, every sort of grenade, each grenade is bringing a lot of information and a lot of good thing, a significant way to push upon. And with that being said, it is going to be Exitron Red Army that is going to be bidding a goodbye. But it seems that a drop, an exclusive drop, is pretty much close to where the final touch last place is still alive, but it's not going to be the last case because Rebel is still ahead with him in order to give him the assistance. But PX Esports, they really need to be taken care of, and will Old Boy spot them down and take them down? That is going to be the question of the hour. Or will he use the utilities? I mean, get them tasted with the same sort of medicine.
Well, he's certainly trying. He's certainly taken those shots from the mini-tap. Eventually, there's going to be a conversation for PX Esports as to what sort of a rotation are they going to be making to get out of that zone, because they have been caught. And Old Boy certainly knows a thing or two about that. But PX Esports is another teammate is going to be helping the situation. And of course, in doing so, a nade was brought on to Old Boy's position. And in that, of course, for now, he has not been confirmed a knock or down. But eventually, it is 4 teams remaining. We've got, of course, 4 Archangels, 1 final player, Robin, who is out in the open, very close to the edge of the zone. On the other tangent, Phantom for You's HRX OP does know that there is a team there. There's know that there is a kill point there that is waiting, but has not been able to spot him yet.
Head has been blown away, but certainly the helmet has been blown away. Head is still there. I mean, that's what I wanted to say. That means he has received a lot of shots from the side of PX Esports, and PX Esports are certainly doing good. And Old Boy 24 has been taken down. That means the player that really had a compound, that really had the fortified area, has now been pulled down. PX Esports again coming in. 7 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1. That makes a total of obviously 13 is what the kill stands for the moment for PX Esports. Can they get one more chicken? But not doing so, that eventually is not going to be taking away a lot of points, because they have already gotten 13 points, and getting the edge of the circle is what Chiku and the rest of the teammates want them from. But on to the other hand side, it is now going to be a time where Archangels are going to make a push. But again, Showman, PX Esports is just not stopping. But the moment I said, it seemed that now there is one better team that might be pulling them down.
Well, it was Phantom for UI who's jumping into the arena with 3 teams remaining. Final Touch is also playing their cards to perfection. Rebel has been able to retaliate against the positioning from the side of Phantom for UI, and eventually it is going to be the compound that is in control of Final Touch. But what sort of a playstyle are they going to be creating, because PX Esports have reached the gates?
Exactly. Now Nier goes down. That grenade right spot landing onto his lap. One more revival. That means the time is losing. The clock is ticking. We are heading towards the last circle of this day for Erangel. And what a match it has been. Now PT coming into the fight and taking one more knock. And this is going to be an even affair, as now the 3 players standing from the sides of PX Esports are really making it tough. PX Chiku with one more grenade takes down one more player from the sides. And this may be a dead end for the sides of FT, as now they are being charged upon with multiple direction, multiple teams. With Iman going down, the grenade is certainly working in terms of obviously Chiku. I mean, how many grenade does he have in his bag? That's just uncountable. That is uncountable. And so has been the kill number. 8 kill is what he is standing for the moment, and the aggression is completely shown right off the bat. The intention is there. The team needs that chicken. The team need all these kill points, and Showman giving the important cover fire to Chiku. He knows the importance of Chiku. He knows the important gameplay that Chiku comes in. With that being said, it is going to be an important task for them, because Chiku is now holding this important compound, which has most importantly the zone into it.
Most certainly working in team PX Esports' favor, but now of course Chico is the man who is certainly going to be aggressively pushing against the players of Phantom for UI. And Phantom for UI is also looking at a 4-man strong army, have been able to confirm kills for themselves, but again the nade parade does not stop from Chico, and in doing so, some perfectly set up situational awareness is what is going to be required from the side of course, Phantom, because it is turning into a 3v1 situation, almost a 4v1 situation, where the team of Phantom for UI are going to be able to retaliate. But what a play that was. Chiku has been brought down to his knees, and eventually that is not looking good. He has gotten a lot of damage. He is not yet knocked, but it seems like the health department is certainly missing for the side of Chiku.
Indeed it is, but the right moment, the right point, he did got that first aid into it coming space. But the most important thing is that Chiku is getting that cheeky angle. There is a lot of multiple windows. There are a lot of multiple balconies from both ends where he can get the things off, but he is using the utilities to its perfection. I mean, every sort of utilities now he is doing the things with all those Molotovs, and he has certainly been the man in the form. And with Chiku, one more knock. This time it is Molotov. This time it was not grenade, but certainly working in his favor.
Well, most certainly has been working in his favor with 8 kills confirmed for Chiku. This guy is unstoppable. But on the tangent. It is going to be Final Touch using this perfect opportunity to try and get themselves into the fight itself. And if at all there is a team that can throw away the dream from PX Esports, it could very well be Final Touch right here, where Old Boy are going to be trying to jump in along with its teammate. But will he be allowed to do so? No, he will not. It is going to be Chiku taking on the aggressive stance against the players of Phantom for you. One by one, the entirety of Phantom Esports has been, well, Phantom for UI has been eliminated pretty much.
Showman puts the final nail in the coffin and with that, it is a good buy for Final Touch. But in all this situation, it is going to be two players surviving from the sides, and it is even fair. If we just talk about the number advantage, no other team, no other players getting the numbers advantage. We're just aggressing towards the last stage of the game. It is the 29-minute marker, and this is going to be the end zone. And before that happens, it is going to be Chiku that is bringing that cheeky gameplay with this one final player. He takes it out. He wins it for PX Esports, and what a game! I mean, what a performance for PX Esports. It was him dominating in the first minute. It was him dominating in the mid stage. It was him dominating in the 28th minute. It was him eventually in the 29th minute of this PMCO Day 4 last Erangel. 3,212 damage, 35 total points, and what a match it was for PX Esports. 7th rank is where they're standing, and out of the total 20 kill, I guess 14 at least must be of Chiku.
That is so true. That is so true indeed, because the play that was made from this dude was absolutely perfect, and that resulted in this team walking away with so many points. Such aggressive plays being showcased from the team that has resulted in, of course, this team getting themselves to the 7th position of the overall. But eventually, I mean, you talk about the way the day started off. It was just absolutely abysmal performance from Final Touch. As the day progressed on along, Final Touch was part of that final fight as well on the 3rd spot.
Wow.
So a comeback, so to say, certainly working in favor of this team. But with that, let's have a look at the MVP coming in from this game.
It is going to be Chiku. I mean, 12 kills, 15, 33 damage. I mean, this is a complete stats of a whole team. One player getting close to 15, 33 damage, 12 kill, 1 assist, just the 596 healing done. A complete power pack performance is what we are getting to see from the sides of not only PX Esports, but also Chiku. But we'll get more and more stats coming in, as now we have the top players on this match as Chiku. I mean, no two ways doubt about that. That is going to be obviously 12 kills all of a sudden. I mean, okay, fine. Showman with getting 5 was the number, and all of a sudden we are getting to see Chiku getting the 12 kills. And we just talk about that with the Arc. TT Arc, that Archangel. This was one team that we have to talk about. That 330 meter, how often do we get to see in a game of Erangel? I mean, this is one team that has also showed their prowess in today's gameplay.
Well, along with that, another wonderful thing that happened towards the edge of that zone, when it was, of course, IPGX who were trying to get in towards that area. It was, I believe, 4 Archangels itself who did steal the Tesla away from Dictator itself. So, I mean, it's not about what sort of a game style or what sort of a play style, but it was more of just one of those comical things that you see in the game, and that's certainly going to be sticking in my memory for a while. Same can be said for Thundercloud's yesterday's Paradise Resort dance, right? Because all of these are memories. All of these are just perfect memories.
Exactly.
Now, talking about memories, PX Esports, as the day started off, was on the 26th spot. Was on the 26th spot in the overall ranking, and now with the way that this team has been playing, find themselves in the top 8.
Wow.
Talk about a good day.
Wow.
Talk about a good day. Talk about
bamboozling day. I mean,
yes, it's unreal. It's unreal.
Maybe is it
Uncanny.
enough for them to qualify for the PMCO? We still wait for that, but certainly they have now blown the whistle. And we're talking about that. It was certainly not a game and a day for Thundercloud.
That is true. Thundercloud has not been able to make that sort of a playstyle for themselves. With that, let's move on through the Oppo F19 Pro moments, where there were a lot of fights that took place in the entirety of this final game. We started things off right here, where it was Abir who was taking on players as they were making the rotation right across his vicinity. The team of FOF BadBlood were looking absolutely perfect in terms of the way that they had set themselves up. But as we move on along, ATR jumped in to take up a different fight altogether.
Exactly, the fight was taking slowly and steadily, and with PX Esports getting things into favor, it was pretty much seemingly. And we just talked about that, I mean, the Tesla that was taken away. It was this moment where actually it was 4 Archangels that really made it tough for them to survive the situation. And then PX Esports, I mean, you will get 90% of the limelight in this, obviously the Oppo F19 Pro moments where PX Esports was trying to dominate. Then it was certainly for a moment where Team IR was again chiming in, but it was not an easy task for PX to come in. I mean, talk about this Exitron. Red Army was the one team that was trying to pin them down, but the use of utilities was to its perfection. The smoke was used, the grenade was used, and in all these fights, it was one more thing that was a final touch that was trying to give the one touch, but certainly not going to favor with Showman getting 1-1 fight. They eliminated final touch last bit, and then it was an all easy getting away from that winner and winning things off in style. That's what Chiku brings up for, and there we go to see the overall ranking with Bad Intention still topping the last and chart, and Infernal Parasite GX. I mean, this team have made a real big leap from that 9th-10th position to that 90 total points at 8 total matches. They have certainly looked good.
Most certainly have, and in that doing so, as we move on along, it is going to be PX Esports, as we just did see, that was able to get into from final page of the leaderboard to the first page of the leaderboard. I mean, talk about a storyline. That is a complete different, abysmal storyline that PX Esports have been able to create and showcase to us. But with that, all the groups, all the teams have played 8 matches, and now as we move on along, things are getting serious. Things are getting very, very serious.
Definitely, things are getting serious. To talk about the second half of the chart, where from 9 to 16, we have a lot of team that are coming into the frame with Phantom UI. I mean, Phantom UI really made a good jump. I mean, they are in the positioning points, but still, I mean, the question still remains, will that be enough? Because at the end of the day, since each and every team, apart from Final Touch, has played all the 8 matches, the rest of the 4 matches, it depends upon Final Touch that they will be playing or not. I mean, but still looking in good touch. I mean, they have made a comeback. Start of the day, they started things off well with getting the chicken, and it was high fracking game. I remember it was, I guess, a 6 or 8 kill chicken that they get secured, and then moving on to the last of the chart, Thundercloud. I mean, this is not looking good. The one red marker onto the name, that means one down jump, and this is certainly not how you end your day.
Absolutely should not be the case, but again, you do know for a fact that there is certainly going to be every single time one team who does not end up having a good day. But hopefully, the other days that are remaining when it comes to the PMCO semi-finals or for the Bangladesh region will most certainly work for them. With that, let's move on along to the kill leaders and showcase what sort of a playstyle have been created. TRZ Mamba still dominating this with 24 kills in total is what he's been able to get. Bad Intentions Winter right up the proximity, but this has not really changed. I mean, it is pretty much the exact same as it was earlier as well, and it is was Chiku right here from PX Esports with 20 kills, 3,104 damage.
All of a sudden, PX Esports getting back-to-back, because in the last game itself, it was game of Sanhok, it was a chicken, it was Oxygen that faced the brunt. It was some other time, but what a comeback PX Esports. I mean, if you talk about comeback, PX Esports has to be the epitome of it.
Most certainly is, and most certainly the journey is still not yet done as they push on along to create that many more wonderful moments for us. But with that, the 4 games done for the day, we do reach the end of our show. Thank you so very much for tuning in. We of course are going to be back again with day number 5 and some incredible plays. But until then, take care. Bye-bye.
Here we go now. 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 now.